Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III.
Hello, MacPack. It's great to be back with you for another episode of On the Move. This is the show where we talk about all things politics, philosophy, government, liberty. We talk about current events. I present it with you to you through a lens of a libertarian. I'm a conservative libertarian in philosophy, and that's what this show is about. If you're new to the program, by the way, we broadcast usually every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Today we are doing something a little different. It had a little technical difficulty yesterday, so we're doing it today, Monday. Today's Monday, the 9th of January, 2017. And today's show is titled, Black People Can't Be Racist? Episode 148 of On the Move Show, and of course, I'm your host, Mac Worley III, by the way. Today's featured topics, we got a lot in store for you. Today's first featured topic is, can black people be racist? And I'll give you a hint. Yes, they can be racist. And I want to talk about, in regards to that, the Chicago torture video and how there were 4 black youths. I assume that they're black youths. They were charged with hate crimes for kidnapping a local mentally challenged person, handicapped person. I'm not sure his disabilities, but he was a white man kidnapped by 4 black people, and he was tortured and beat up and forced to drink toilet water. They cut a portion of his scalp back, and they were yelling, "Fuck Donald Trump," excuse me for the language, and F white people as well. So for that, we have to talk about this video. And more importantly, I want to talk about the sentiment that's growing now that is on both sides. Now, there is racism that is on both sides, but instances like this are going to continue to grow if we don't identify what is causing us to basically attack each other in this way. And the way I think of it on that side, on the hashtag Black Lives Matter side, I'm going to talk about why I think that side has a growing anti-white sentiment, and also I want to identify the alt-right, which I believe is it's the same. It's just a different side of a coin for Black Lives Matter. And within both of these groups, I'm not saying hashtag Black Lives Matter or alt-right it is 100% racist people in that group, because I don't believe that. I think that extreme racism and the ones that will act out against other people and harm them, essentially violate the non-aggression principle, that is a fringe element within inside each group. But the problem is that the groups are catering to that. They are pandering to that sentiment. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit later in the show. Also, another feature topics, we have a video now, it's gone viral, of the Denver police taking blankets from homeless people. And there's also another similar situation. 3,000 homeless people were denied food as the city forces a charity to bleach the food and throw it into a dumpster. There's also some conflict that has recently happened with China and Iran, and I want to talk about why Planned Parenthood doesn't need our taxes. We've got a whole lot more on the agenda. Anything that you would like to talk about, please feel free. Give us a call. The number of the show is 360-450-5625, 360-450-5625. We got so much to talk about. And don't forget to check us out, by the way, on our website, OnTheMoveShow.com. You can check out our podcast at Spreaker.com/OnTheMoveShow. You can follow us over there as well. Our podcast is played on our website as well, OnTheMoveShow.com. So you can broadcast over there. You have 2 different ways to listen to the program. You can get us on Spreaker as well. I'm sorry, on iTunes as well. We send the show over there through Podbean. If you're on Podbean as well, you can follow us there. You can like us on Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow and follow us on Twitter at OnTheMoveShow, and subscribe. Please subscribe to us on YouTube.com/OnTheMoveShow. We got some big things coming up this year. We're going to be doing the show a little bit differently this year if everything goes according to plan. I'm trying to get to the point where I can turn this show into a video podcast as well as just the audio podcast. So it's going to be a lot on the agenda here in 2017, the new year, and I'm going to be using YouTube so that you guys can get a little bit more out of it, more bang for your buck here to see what's going on in the studio. And I don't know, I think the video will be another element to it that you guys might like. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about that as well. And again, that number to the show is 360-450-5625. You can tweet us at OnTheMoveShow. We'll read your tweets live on the air, or contact us at facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. So we're going to go ahead and cut to our first commercial break. When we come back, we're going to dive right into the Chicago torturing. So you guys don't want to go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Have you visited the On the Move with Mac Worley store? We've got amazing original design t-shirts, hoodies, cell phone cases, and coffee mugs for sale at OnTheMoveShow.com. Just click the shop link on our home page. You won't want to miss out on the iHeart Open Carry and Bare Arms t-shirts for only $20 plus shipping. Again, just go to OnTheMoveShow.com and click the shop link on our home page. Your purchases will help make the On the Move show bigger and better. We appreciate your support. Are you an activist who needs affordable flyers or brochures for passing out literature? Or a political candidate who's looking for business cards, logo designs, yard signs, or vehicle decals? Email me, Latasha Worley, for all your graphic design needs at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com. And don't forget to mention On the Move to get a 10% discount on all graphic design services.
Oath Keepers is a nonpartisan association of current active duty military, reserve, guard, veterans, peace officers, and firefighters who will fulfill the oath we swore. With the support of like-minded citizens who take an oath to stand with us, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help us God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III.
All right, we're back. So I want to start this off with this Chicago torture video. There were 4 black individuals who were charged with hate crimes and kidnapping. Here's a clip from CNN. It's loading. And here.
Chicago police say 4 people are in custody after allegedly beating a man and streaming the attack live on Facebook. The details in the video in the case are disturbing, to say the least, as disturbing as they are bizarre. CNN's Rosa Flores joins me now with the latest. I know Chicago police just held a press conference about this tape. What did they say? What do we know about this?
And Anderson, I just got off the phone with police with a few more disturbing details. They tell me that the victim in this particular case was targeted because he has a mental health challenge. They described him as someone who was very tender, and while it took some police work, they said, they were able to find the offenders, like you mentioned, 4 people in custody. But let me set the scene here. According to police, officers were patrolling on the west side of Chicago when they saw a man that was disoriented and traumatized. So the police officers sent him to the hospital, actually, Anderson, and then there was a battery call that came in. Police officers responded to that, and they were able to link the evidence from this battery call to this disoriented man. And then there you have it, video on social media that was able to fill in the picture. Now, before we show you this video, we should warn you that it is very disturbing. Take a look.
Yeah, grab it, nigga. Fuck, cut him off. Oh, shit, boy. Damn, you cut it. I put a whole patch out in boy.
Why you do that?
Ain't no blood on the blade. You fuck. That was you get. Donald Trump.
So they're yelling F Donald Trump.
Oh, my brother, my
Hey, right here. He represents Trump. It's PPG hothead. Hey, this.
They're saying the guy represents Donald Trump, and that's why they're beating him and cutting hunks of his scalp off.
PPG hothead speaking. Y'all see this right here? We finna put this in the trunk, and we finna put a brick on the gas and let that. You feel?
That was broadcast live
from
on social media while they were doing that, right? And then, I mean, they're talking about Donald Trump. They're saying, I mean, it seems like there's, in their words, some sort of a racial dimension to all this.
You know, it really does sound like that, Anderson. We asked the police about that, and of course, the obvious question is this a hate crime? Is this somehow related to politics and all the tensions post the election? And police say that at this point they're still investigating, but they do believe, they tell me, that this is more related to this young man's mental health challenge. Now, you saw in that video,
See, this is ridiculous. They're not saying anything about attacking him because he has some kind of mental handicap. They're saying specifically F white people, F Donald Trump. And this guy represents Donald Trump.
White, the offenders you saw in that video are black, so it definitely raises all of these questions. But at this point, they still say they are still investigating motive.
And what about the victim in this? How is he doing now?
You know, the police say that he's very traumatized. They say that he had a lot of difficulty to even start speaking to investigators or the police because of the condition that he was found in. Police say that they don't know if he spent 24 or even 48 hours with this group, and they don't know exactly what they did to him, of course.
Can you imagine this? I mean, first of all, at some point while this live stream was going on, one of the family members, I think it was a sister or cousin or something of one of the black females that were there, said, so-and-so says this isn't funny. And that, I think that's putting it very lightly. Obviously, it's not funny. Kidnapping and torturing anyone, let alone somebody who's mentally handicapped. And by the way, there's reason to believe now, according to the news that I'm reading about this, that this young man, this young white man, had known one of his attackers and came with them willingly. And then it led to this. So, of course, this man, anybody, whether or not they have some kind of handicap, is going to be traumatized after something like this. And I want you to try to imagine what that person is going through, or what anyone in that situation would be going through, how much fear they would have that somebody that they know would kidnap them and torture them, according to what CNN is trying to put forth as a narrative, because they're mentally handicapped. Instead of believing people for what they say, believing people at their word, you know, these people are saying this guy represents Donald Trump. F white people, F Donald Trump. Of course, this is a hate crime. Of course, and let's just be specific. Why does it matter if this is a hate crime or not? And we can talk about this for a second. First of all, hate crime adds an extra punishment to the sentencing process. So if you're found guilty of a hate crime, you're going to be sentenced more than if you're not. So. Personally, these people, I just don't understand the kind of people that would do this kind of thing to another person. You have to be able to look at this other person and just not see another person. You see something lesser. You see something less than a human there in front of you that you're torturing. I don't know it doesn't matter what ethnicity, religious bias that this person is. I would never be sexual orientation. I'm never going to be able to look at that person as something less than human. And to do so, I think, especially for reasons of them being white or black or whatever it is racist. It is a hate crime. If you're doing that because the person is, let's say, homosexual, or they're a certain religion, or they are certain ethnicity, that's a hate crime by mere definition. Now, should that be something that we're punishing more? Should that be something that carries a higher punishment than just a crime in and of itself? Personally, I don't really think that it should, only because I think that we should have extremely harsh punishments for violent crimes. And I don't think that violent people should be let out of jail if we have any inkling, any instance that crime could repeat again. That's just my philosophy on the criminal punishment system that we have here, because it's not there's no reform that happens inside our prisons. Just an FYI, it's just a big money making racket. That's all it is. They have the revolving doors of the drug offenders coming in and out of there, the nonviolent drug offenders just cashing in, making all that money off this cash cow. People who haven't committed violent crimes rolling in and out. And again, no restitution being paid to any victims of nonviolent crimes. No. So, for example, if I steal a car from you and I serve 5 years in jail, it costs thousands and thousands of dollars to house me in jail, secure me to make sure I don't escape, make sure I'm also safe, provide me with free health care, 3 hots and a cot, all of that. And how is that paid for? That's paid for out of the taxpayer till. So not only did let's say I stole your car and you never get the car back. I sold it to a chop shop. It's gone. You'll never see that car again. All right. Now you're out of a car. Let's say your car costs $20,000. All right, let's just throw a number out. $20,000 car. You're out of that car. You lose that money. And then in addition to that, when they capture me and throw me into a cell, you're out of the taxpayer money, the money that's coming from your taxes to house me, clothe me, feed me, provide me with medical care, all of that stuff. So, and at no point am I paying restitution to you. I'm getting punished, but you're not made whole. In fact, you're made worse off than if I would have just got away with it, because now you're forced to pay more in taxes to house me. Personally, I disagree with that. I don't like the way that we do it for nonviolent offenders. Now, the violent offenders, I throw away the key as far as I'm concerned. Don't let them out until there's evidence that they're not going to commit that crime, whether or not they've had a change of heart and we truly believe them, or whatever the process we create for that. But we are, as it stands now, we're letting people out of jail to make room for the nonviolent offenders. We're letting violent offenders out back on the street. And it's not right. And I personally, I don't think that we need this caveat of if it's a hate crime. If you have a particularly egregious crime, if you're a particularly violent person, you should be locked in jail until you're not violent anymore. And if you aren't ever going to be able to be back into society, because that, again, this is one of the key things that we say here in society, is that you've paid your debt to society. And if that's really true, then they should be given back all of the rights that they lost because of the crime that they committed. If they've truly paid their debt to society, they should be just like everyone else. They shouldn't be able to be discriminated against because they were a felon. They shouldn't be able to be denied the right to bear arms or the right to vote if they've truly paid their debt. And if they haven't, well, then they need to stay in jail. If they're too dangerous for us to release because we don't trust them to take part in our election system or to vote, if they're too dangerous to carry a gun, if we don't trust them to do that, then we shouldn't let them out. That's just my personal philosophy. Now, the nonviolent offenders, I think they should have some kind of halfway house where they're working to pay off the cost of their room and board and food and all of that stuff. They have to go out and have a job, or if they had one already, they continue working at that. But they're monitored and tracked, and they have to come back to this halfway house. And a portion of their earnings, whatever they make, I think should go towards paying back the victim of their crime. And I don't think they should be free until they've paid back their victim of the crime. That's just my personal opinion. Now, I'm sure people disagree with that. Now, I would love to hear what you guys have to say or any comments on that. You can get me on Twitter at OnTheMoveShow, Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow, or you can call in. The number to the show is 360-450-5625. In regards to these hate crime special charges, I mean, personally, I don't have this isn't like a pet peeve of mine or anything. I just think that violent offenders should be locked away, and it shouldn't matter whether or not it was a hate crime. It should be a crime. That's just my personal opinion. But whether or not this is a hate crime, I mean, what does it take to be considered a hate crime if this doesn't cover it? Well, let me tell you what constitutes a hate crime. According to CNN, this is the same article I played that clip for you. This article, by the way, is titled Chicago Torture Video, 4 charged with hate crimes, kidnapping. This is by Holly Yan, and it was updated January 5th, 2017. So here's what constitutes a hate crime, according to this article. They say, according to the City of Chicago's website, hate crimes are acts of bigotry and are committed because of the intended victim's actual or perceived ancestry, color, creed, gender, race, religion, sexual orientation, physical or mental disability, including HIV status, or national origin. Hate crimes not only harm the victim, but also the group in which the targeted member belongs. According to Illinois state law, hate can be considered an aggravating factor in a criminal charge and can result in a more severe sentence. The fascinating, if unreliable, history of hate crimes tracking in the U.S. is a link that they have on this. You can click that. Feel free, check it out. I'd be worried about this because of the amount of faux hate crimes, the fake hate crimes that are being tracked by this institution. Like somebody writing the word Trump in chalk on a sidewalk is being tracked as a hate crime. And again, they're saying that there's a rise in hate crimes. And there was a story not too long ago about a woman that said that these Trump supporters who were yelling Trump 2016 were essentially trying to rip off her hijab and saying get out of the country and all of these things. She filed a police report about this so-called hate crime, and then come to find out it was a complete and total lie. This is happening in the leftist circles, by the way, and I want you to imagine. I want you just to spin this around. If a group of 4 white people abducted and tortured a black person, yelling F black people, F Hillary Clinton, or F Obama, or F Black Lives Matter, or F whatever, I want you to imagine, would there be anyone on CNN saying, well, I don't know if this is a hate crime. I'm not certain if this is a hate crime. You know, it would be balls to the wall condemnation from everybody out there condemning this, and to include myself. If there was a video of 4 white people doing what was done to this white person to a black person, if there was video of that, if that was even a story without the national news buzz around the video, because this was made even more wild because it was Facebook live streamed. These have to be the dumbest criminals in the history of the world. So even if it was on the other side, I would be condemning it. But yet you hear a lot of people making excuses for this behavior. And when we come back from this next commercial break, I'm going to play a bunch of clips here of people making excuses for this behavior. Again, the non-aggression principle states you don't hurt others, you don't steal their stuff. To do so is immoral. I've yet to meet anyone that in face value can deny that is immoral to hurt others or to take their stuff. But yet, we're going to hear people make excuses. So, we come back from this break. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit more about the instance here in Chicago, and then I want to play a clip from Dana Lash talking about the kidnapping and related to what happened this election season. Also, I want to talk about the fact that black people can be racist and the straight lies that are coming from the left. This is serial propaganda that is coming from the left in this nation, that black people cannot be racist. So we're going to talk about that, and you guys don't want to miss it. We'll be right back.
Have you visited the On the Move with Mac Worley store? We've got amazing original design t-shirts, hoodies, cell phone cases, and coffee mugs for sale at OnTheMoveShow.com. Just click the shop link on our homepage. You won't want to miss out on the iHeart Open Carry and Bare Arms t-shirts for only $20 plus shipping. Again, just go to OnTheMoveShow.com and click the shop link on our homepage. Your purchases will help make the On the Move show bigger and better. We appreciate your support. Are you an activist who needs affordable flyers or brochures for passing out literature? Or a political candidate who's looking for business cards, logo designs, yard signs, or vehicle decals? Email me, Latasha Worley, for all your graphic design needs at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com. And don't forget to mention On the Move to get a 10% discount on all graphic design services.
I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, pledging my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. So help me God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III.
And we're back. We got some activity in the chat room and on Twitter. Natasha, she says the biggest issue with jails is private-owned jails. Their goal is to be paying is to have a full house. So, of course, they will have to do their best to fill it up. The jail life isn't easy. You come in with a small nonviolent crime and then turn it violent inside. So, first, let me, on that last comment here, let me talk about that for 1 second here. This is why I don't believe that we should be housing our nonviolent offenders in jails. I think that they should be in halfway houses, and I think they should be, depending on what their crime is, they should be trying to pay back their victims and working. They should have a job, either the job that they had before they got arrested or got convicted of their special crime, or they should have to get one, or the government should help them get one. And that money that they make should be used to pay the room, board, medical costs, all that crap that comes with housing a prisoner. They should be tracked, have some ankle bracelets on them, and they should have to pay for their victim, and they shouldn't be released until they do pay back their victim, whatever the damages were. I think that's fair. I think that is paying your debt back to society, literally. So, and also we don't put our nonviolent offenders in jail with the hardened criminals, the rapists, the murderers, and things like that, and have them come out even more violent than they went in. Especially if they're nonviolent to begin with, and now they go in and now they're violent criminals. Prisons are not a rehabilitation center, folks. They are a school for criminals. It's a networking community for other criminals. This is a major problem, and this is one of the reasons why we have such a high recidivism. People going back into prison, it's very difficult. So, and another comment she said here. This is on Twitter. She says if 4 white people did to a black person what happened in this video, whites on TV wouldn't call it a hate crime, and that's disturbing. I disagree. Personally, I would call it a hate crime. I think others would call it a hate crime. But if they didn't, I think that that they have some kind of agenda that they're pushing, or they're trying to control a narrative, and I don't think that's correct either. So, again, I call it like I see it, and I think that, again, as long as you're looking at things through the prism of the non-aggression principle, and regardless of hate crime, even if we're not talking about should it be a hate crime, should it not, whatever, I think that somebody who kidnaps somebody and tortures them and streams it live on Facebook should go to jail for a long, long time, regardless of race, sexual orientation, color, creed. I don't care. I think that person is a violent individual and has no business being in our society. They've already proven that they can't be in our society without hurting people or taking their stuff. So, anyway, she also says here, Natasha on Twitter says, I would call it racism too, but I mean traditional TV people like Fox. So, I don't know. I'm a student of the news. I watch a lot of news here, preparing for the show. I'm checking out CNN. I'm checking out Fox. I'm reading HuffPo. I'm reading The Blaze. I'm reading, I get my news from typically 180report.com is one of the first places I go. It has a left-right button up the top that you get news from both sides. The issue here is people with an agenda. And there are some honest people on Fox News. There's some honest people who are honestly trying to question things on CNN. There's honesty on both sides, but there's also an agenda on both sides. And you have to understand what each side is trying to propagate, what agenda they're trying to push. So, Fox News, they're in the tank for Donald Trump, so anything that's going to be hurtful to the Trump administration, they're likely not going to talk about it. And that's okay if you understand it from that point of view. And now, if you want to have a critical look at everything, all right? And again, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. I'm starting to notice that now I'm watching more CNN now because I want to hear the criticisms about Donald Trump. I want to hear criticisms about Republicans. I want to hear criticisms about my own side. Again, I'm not a Republican. I'm a Libertarian. But traditionally, I side more with conservatives on the right. But I disagree a lot with them too, which is why I want to hear criticisms of them and see if they have any merit or not. I don't want to just sit here and carry water for a presidential candidate or a party or a presidential or a president himself. I'm not into that, and I hope that I hope that none of you are either. So that's just my point of view. Anyway, so let's go ahead and move back into the feature topic here. We were talking about the Chicago torture video, and I'm going to read how the event here started, the encounter started. The victim's parents reported him missing Monday, telling the police they had not heard from their son since dropping him off Saturday at McDonald's in the Chicago suburbs of Schaumburg, about 20 miles from their home in Crystal Lake. The victim was supposed to spend New Year's Eve with Hill, who picked up the teen in a stolen van, Duffin said. Hill drove the teen around for several days in the van. They apparently spent at least one night in the vehicle before they went to Covington's apartment in Chicago. Police said Hill and the teen were acquaintances who knew each other from school. At one point, Hill and the teen got into a play fight that escalated, and he was tied up for hours, police said. A resident in another apartment complained about the noise, and the two sisters went to the home and kicked down the door. The neighbor called 911. Police responding to the call found the teen on the street wearing an inside-out tank top, shorts, and sandals. He was bloodied. He was battered, Officer Michael Donnelly said. He was very discombobulated. So they post this video online. They obviously get busted here. They're now facing hate crime charges again. I personally think that it shouldn't matter whether or not there's a hate crime attached to this. This is a particularly egregious assault that was conducted on this person simply because, in my opinion, based on watching the video, because he was white and they perceived him as a Donald Trump supporter. Whether or not he did, whether or not he was. And honestly, I don't hear anything or see anything in this video that meant that they were doing this because he was mentally handicapped or anything like that. And if it was, according to this definition that we read here, it's let's see here. It's because of perceived ancestry, color, creed, gender, race, religion, sexual orientation, physical or mental disability. So, including HIV status or national origin. So, again, the mental disability part. If they did that because he was mentally disabled, yes, it's a hate crime. But again, I don't. You should be able to cover hate crimes with everything. This doesn't even make any sense. Like, let's say you're abducted because you're a Donald Trump supporter. That would be a hate crime, would it not? But not according to this. So it has. They don't mention anything about politics in here, your political orientation, or anything like that. Your political philosophy. It's not an all-inclusive term, which is, again, this is just another flaw of the hate crime side of it. If you're being targeted for whatever reason that you're being targeted, other than just a spur of the moment, if it's a crime of hate or passion, wouldn't you think it would be something that would qualify as a hate crime? I guess politics doesn't qualify. Again, that's why I'm not a fan of this hate crime moniker, because it's not inclusive on everything, and it doesn't really matter. Somebody broke the law, they hurt somebody, they committed an act of violence, and this particularly heinous act of violence, torture, kidnapping, holding the person hostage for 48 hours at a maximum. I mean, that's really egregious, and these people, all of them, should go away for a long, long time. I don't care if they were just watching, ha ha ha, that's so funny, you cut the guy's scalp open. You should go away for a long, long time. That's just my opinion. I'd love to hear from you guys. Give me a call, 360-450-5625. Again, that's 360-450-5625. You can also get us on Twitter at OnTheMoveShow or on Facebook, facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. So I have Don Lemon on CNN talking about how he's essentially making a lot of excuses here for the behavior. He doesn't want to call it racist, doesn't want to call it a hate crime. And this CNN has some... it's mind-boggling. I'll just play the clip. Here it goes.
Because no one I know who was raised by any parent would even dream of doing something like that. My mom would probably beat me worse than that kid. Is this, we've been talking to the police. Police say they're still investigating. They won't classify it as a hate crime. Is this a hate crime?
Well, I don't know, and I don't want to prejudge too much because, frankly, even the video has so many bleeps.
Yeah, okay, so he's saying F Donald Trump, F white people. He doesn't know. He doesn't know if it's a hate crime. There's
Jeff shouting F Trump, F white people. Do you think that this was politically motivated, a politically motivated crime, or are these just stupid kids?
I'm going to say the three words you're never allowed to say on cable news, which are, I don't know.
Actually, you're allowed to say that if answering truthfully in that question would hurt your lefty narrative. So, yeah, it is allowed on that program there on CNN, the Communist News Network. It does hurt the narrative if you say it's a hate crime or if it's politically motivated, even though they're saying F white people, F Donald Trump. Very clearly about race and about politics, but you're not allowed to say it. Again, on the Communist News Network because of a reason that they are pushing a lefty narrative. And again, I'm starting to watch them myself. Again, you have to brace yourself for the agenda that's going to be shoved down your throat. You have to know what you're getting when you watch the Communist News Network, the Crazy News Network, the Clinton News Network, whatever you want to call it. It's still a very lefty-oriented program. And I'm wondering how long until they're going to figure out that the people are on to them. People are tired of getting propaganda shoved down their throat and being lied to and being told what to think and say. So, yes, this was politically motivated. Yes, this was racially motivated. They admitted as much in the video. Here's more.
What goes into the heads of people who are doing something like this? I can't fathom
many things, but clearly I agree with Simone. This is sickening to watch, sickening to think that some careless, thoughtless thugs would do something like this to someone who appears to be so innocent. But look, not to get too far ahead of the legal skis here, based on what we hear in the video, it does sound as though this was a hate crime. The language they use about referring to the poor victim as a white person and the different language they used. And I hope it is classified as that because, therefore, the penalty will be much greater and they deserve the harshest penalty they can get. I'm like you, Don. I'd fear what my parents would do to me much more than what the law would do to me if I was caught doing something like this.
I just wonder,
I never would.
When you see these are 18-year-old kids, and you look at the video, you're like, what is going on? What on earth? Why would anybody ever think that it was okay to treat another person like that for any reason, regardless of it, if it's a disabled person, if it's a mentally physical?
I mean, at the end of the day, you just try to wrap your head around evil. That's what this is. It's evil. It's brutality. It's man's inhumanity to man. And
finally, somebody said something that makes sense here.
And
I don't think it's evil.
Oh my God. Don Lemon, immediately, I don't think it's evil. It's not evil to kidnap somebody, hold them hostage for 48 hours, torture them, yell F white people, F Donald Trump, and cut a chunk off their scalp, make them drink toilet water. That's not evil, according to Don Lemon.
I don't think it's evil. I don't think it's evil.
And anytime someone says something or does something really egregious, really bad, and sickening in this instance, in connection with the president-elect or Donald Trump or even President Obama for that matter, because of their political leanings, that is slippery territory. That is not a hate crime. Hate crimes are because of a person's racial ethnicity.
Okay, and again, they are saying F white people.
Donald Trump. White people, boy.
No.
So, yeah, it is about racial ethnicity. Not only was it about the politically motivated attack, again, F Donald Trump, F white people, specifically about race.
Racial ethnicity.
Donald Trump. White people, boy.
No.
Racial ethnicity.
Donald Trump. White people, boy.
No.
Racial ethnicity, their religion, their gender, a disability. It is your political leaning.
Again, the guy had a disability as well. So hate crime, if we're talking about hate crimes, hate crime for the disability, obviously hate crime for the F white people. And I believe that attacking somebody for their political leanings is a hate crime as well. If we're going to use this moniker to exacerbate punishment for criminals. If we're going to have hate crimes, why isn't your political leanings covered underneath that as well? Especially at a time when we're so politically divided, where people are actually being attacked for being Donald Trump supporters. And I'm just curious out there. If anyone out there can show me, I would love to, because I've yet to find one Hillary Clinton supporter that was assaulted for being a Hillary Clinton supporter. Now, there were Bernie Sanders supporters that had been in fistfights at Donald Trump protests and things like that. There's some argument to be made that maybe they were agitators. I don't know what to think in that situation. There were some anti-Donald Trump people that got in fights about that. But let me ask you, have you seen any Hillary Clinton supporters or Bernie Sanders supporters or even Obama supporters that were kidnapped and assaulted and carved up like this young man was? Have you seen any of that? Because I haven't. I've seen typical hate crime stuff that it's, again, there are some racist white people in this country. There are some. I believe it is a fringe element. I believe we're talking less than 10% of the population. Extremely far less than 10% of the population. I think most people just want to stay in their own lane. You just want to be left alone. You don't want somebody to try to tell you how to live your life, and you don't want to tell other people how to live your life. I think that's how most people are. But there are other people that have a lot of hate in their heart. And that's on both sides. And the sooner we call out the hate on both sides, it doesn't matter if it's somebody within your own side or not, the better off we're going to be. And the better off we can come to some kind of amicable terms. We can talk about how we can live alongside one another. Because as it stands right now, if we continue to fuel this fire and make excuses for the bad actors on our side or the other side, or if we only go after the other side when they have bad actors, we're only going to make the problem worse. We're only going to get further divided, and this is going to escalate more and more. And as one side does something, the other side will retaliate. Again, Black Lives Matter is the same side, or it's a different side of the same coin as the alt-right. I argue the alt-right is extremely white nationalist, anti-black, anti-Jew. Big government, by the way, not small government. They're just for government using the power to benefit them. Again, I argue the non-aggression principle. Don't hurt others. Don't take their stuff. If I don't have a right to do that, if it's immoral for me to hurt you and to take your stuff, it's also immoral for me to elect somebody to do that in the government, to hire somebody on my behalf to do these things for me. If I don't have the right to do it, no one has the right to do it. The government doesn't have a right to hurt you. They don't have a right to take your stuff. I argue if the government was out of your way, if the government was less obtrusive in your life, we'd all be more free, and it wouldn't really matter what one individual or what a tiny minority of the country are doing if we're locking them away if they violate that principle. If we lock them in jail if they hurt others or take their stuff. If they were being removed from society and forced to actually pay their debt to society, instead of letting them go after serving arbitrary time and very weak sentencing. I mean, there's murderers that are out on the street right now. There's rapists that are out on the street, convicted murderers and rapists out on the street right now, who are dangerous. who were only let go because of overcrowding in prisons. There's people that have hurt people that are free. And look, if they are actually rehabilitated, if they have chosen, because this is what it is, this is a choice to rehabilitate yourself or to pay for your mistake. If you made a mistake, if you did something wrong and it was a heat of the moment kind of thing and you broke the law, look, if everybody in this country has probably violated at least one felony in their lifetime, because there's so many laws. There are so many laws in this nation, you cannot even be expected to understand the laws. The tax code itself is 70,000 pages. 70,000 pages. The average American, I was reading a study, the average American violates over a dozen, I think it was actually as high as 26 felonies a day. So, look, I'm not saying that we're harsh to the point where we're locking people in dungeons and things like that, but the prison system that we have, the prison industrial complex that we have is broken. It is extremely broken. This isn't what I wanted to talk about today. This wasn't going to be the main focus of today's show, but it is broken. We're letting violent people back out on our street, and then when they commit crimes, we're blaming it on the gun, or we're blaming it on something other than what their motivation was, instead of just blaming it on that individual and punishing them and making them pay their debt back. You have to take personal responsibility for your own actions, and if you made a mistake, I understand if you made a mistake, you didn't intend to break a law, but you did. We should look at that and determine, did you hurt somebody? Did you take their stuff? Because you should have known that that was wrong. And if you didn't hurt anybody, if you didn't take their stuff, if it was a victimless crime, then maybe we should examine that law itself and determine why it's illegal in the first place. Maybe get rid of it. How about that? Something to think about, anyway. Here's more with Don Lemon and the CNN crews here, talking about how, all these excuses for kidnapping and abducting a white person.
Because someone doesn't like your political leanings and they do something bad to you, that is not a
But Alice,
I just want to remind folks that we cannot sit here and ignore that for at least the last year, on very public display, the worst parts of America have been brought from the fringe into the mainstream.
No, I'll agree with that, but let's also point out that this is the worst part of America. This side here, but this is far worse than anything I have seen on the right. If I want you to imagine, just imagine the hellstorm that would follow if a group of 4 white people abducted and tortured, let's say, for example, a black homosexual Bernie supporter, okay? And they were saying, F black people, F homosexuals. if this is what they were doing, I want you to imagine this would be a week or two in the headlines, just pounding how racist Republicans are and white people and how we should have white guilt and all of this stuff. Look, this level of egregiousness I haven't seen it. I haven't seen this level of egregiousness since the 1960s, and that was, by the way, white Democratic sheriffs, white Democrats in the South spraying black people with water hoses, pepper spray, beating them with batons, shooting them with rubber bullets, sending attack dogs at them for having the audacity to sit in the front of the bus, to go on a march down the street, to sit at the diner in the white-only section, to drink from a white water fountain. Those are the Democrats, FYI. And, oh yeah, Lincoln, he was a Republican. It was the Democrats in the South that wanted to keep slavery. So, just an FYI. So, here's more from the clip.
So that affects people on both sides. We've talked about white nationalists and white supremacists and the KKK, but there are also when this inflammatory rhetoric is out there, when someone is repeatedly telling you that your community is the worst of the worst, it brings out the worst of the worst in people. And so I'm not defending what they did. What these young people did was sickening. I would argue that they also need some help in addition to some consequences. But this just didn't come out of thin air. Some of the nastiest.
Holy cow. Okay, this just didn't come out of thin air. So what is she saying with that? First of all, she said it's not a crime to attack somebody, or it's not a hate crime to attack somebody because of their political leanings. True, according to that definition, not a crime. It ought to be, maybe. Who knows? That's a conversation I'd like to have. If we're going to have hate crimes, again, to make it harder punishment, especially in this divided culture, this divided country, maybe we ought to. If this is going to be an everyday occurrence, she said it didn't come out of thin air. So where did it come? This is the highest level we've seen thus far of any kind of racially motivated attack. All I'm hearing about on the left is, somebody ripped a hijab off somebody's head. That story ended up being false. I heard some other stories like that. Okay, ripping a hijab, that's wrong. You shouldn't do it. That's a jerk move. Let them practice their religion however they want. I would consider that an assault, and I think that individual, if it actually happened, again, because this is one of the things that the left likes to do, is throw all these hoaxes up about some kind of hate crime that happened. Or they call things that are not hate crimes, like writing Trump on a sidewalk. Oh, that's not a hate crime. Or writing Trump on a door. Look, that's vandalism, but I wouldn't call it a hate crime. Trump, because they're reading into it, and this is why they're saying, oh, they wrote it in the story I'm talking about. Somebody wrote Trump on a door to a Muslim prayer room, I believe, and they read into that it means that Trump won, and now he's going to kick you guys out of this country, and they read all into this. They're reading into it way further than what was just written on the thing, Trump. Now look, that's vandalism, and that person should have to pay back the money that it costs to fix that, or just fix it. I don't know if they'll be able to scrub it off or not, but point being, it's a crime to vandalize. So again, that person should be punished. But she's saying it didn't come out of thin air. She's saying it came from something. So what did it come from? Was it Donald Trump's rhetoric that she's saying? Because I don't hear Donald Trump saying kidnap black people and torture them. I don't hear that at all. I don't hear him saying that about anybody. Look, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. FYI, I'm not a big supporter. I'm giving him a chance. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, and we'll see what he does with this newfound power. I think that he's going to run up the executive power just like Obama did, and I'm here to tell you, and my Republican friends out there, just because your guy's in office, and I said this to the Democrats, and you see what position they're in now. Just because your guy is in office, it's not good for them to expand the power of the government. The government power, eventually you'll be out of power, and it'll still be there. If you create an imperial presidency, if you start restricting rights of individuals, even if you think that Trump is holier than thou and an angel, even if you believe that Trump is the most trustworthy person with this power, I warn you that the next guy might not be, or girl might not be. That power could be used against you. So what you want to do is dismantle the power structure. Dismantle it. And, I've been saying for a while that we need to reinstitute the filibuster in the Senate. I don't know why people aren't forcing, putting any pressure on the Republicans. Well, actually, I do know why. They want to get their stuff done. They want to get their agenda done. I think that there should be a filibuster reinstituted, and it shouldn't be possible to take it away. They should change that and make it a permanent rule of the Senate, because the minority voice is important. It is important what the minority has to say. It's not cool to shove something down the country's throat. We saw what happened with Obamacare. The Democrats are trying to claim that they didn't shove Obamacare down our throat now, even though it passed without a single Republican vote. Harry Reid in the Senate shut down the filibuster option so that the minority cannot stop stuff. This is a problem. This is a real problem. And we need to fix that, because, look, I know we got a lot of stuff on the right that we want to shove down their throats, to repeal and replace Obamacare, to do so many other things, and we don't want them stopping us. Okay, I get that, but this is important. This is a check and a balance, and we want to impose as many checks and balances. That should be the agenda of the right, I think, to not create new power structures, but to impose as many checks and balances on the government, because it's a small government party. The Republican Party supposed to be about small government. How else are you going to make the government smaller than by instituting far more checks and balances? But we got to cut to a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about this, and I want to start diving into the question, which is fascinating, from the Black Lives Matter people. Can black people be racist? We'll find out when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
Have you visited the On The Move with Mac Worley store? We've got amazing original design t-shirts, hoodies, cell phone cases, and coffee mugs for sale at OnTheMoveShow.com. Just click the shop link on our home page. You won't want to miss out on the iHeart Open Carry and Bare Arms t-shirts for only $20 plus shipping. Again, just go to OnTheMoveShow.com and click the shop link on our home page. Your purchases will help make the On The Move show bigger and better. We appreciate your support. Are you an activist who needs affordable flyers or brochures for passing out literature? Or a political candidate who's looking for business cards, logo designs, yard signs, or vehicle decals? Email me, Latasha Worley, for all your graphic design needs at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LADOSHA Worley@gmail.com. And don't forget to mention On The Move to get a 10% discount on all graphic design services.
I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, pledging my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. So help me God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Welcome to On The Move.
All right, we're back. Welcome to the second hour of the program, or at least we're getting close to the second hour of the program. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we broadcast at the405media.com, the405media.com. Simulcast our first hour of the program over there. Shout out to those guys for simulcasting us. Also, youthrevolt.org, youthrevolt.org. We broadcast over there also. So please check out those networks. And also, don't forget to check out our shop, OnTheMoveShow.com. Click the shop link. We got lots of original designed products on there, t-shirts, hoodies, phone cases, coffee mugs, that kind of stuff. Your purchases will go towards helping us keep the lights on here and get new equipment, video cameras, microphones, mixers, all that kind of stuff. So you make our show bigger and better, and I certainly would appreciate it. Anyway, so let's go ahead and go back to the clip from CNN. They were talking about all the excuses made for this individual, or these four individuals who kidnapped a man and tortured him.
Let
me just say this. Simone, you think I'm being too hard on these kids?
I am very hesitant to cast these young people as folks who come from broken homes. For all we know, they have a mother and a father who work very good, hardworking jobs, who have instilled or tried to instill good moral values in them, and the young people just aren't listening. So I think.
So Don Lemon immediately said, you know, he thought it was because of their home situation. Maybe they weren't taught well enough to know not to kidnap people and torture them. And Simone apparently disagrees. And again, I would agree with that. I think that is actually the bigotry of low expectations coming from Mr. Don Lemon. Because, and by the way, he's a black man. The bigotry of low expectations, though, is racism that a minority shouldn't know something because of their upbringing or their community, their race, whatever. You're being a bigot to them by assuming that they're dumber than the average person, that they shouldn't know things that the average person knows. That, like, for example, it's wrong to kidnap and torture people. The average person ought to know that. Shouldn't matter what your upbringing was, you ought to know. And more than likely, they were taught wrong from right from wrong. They should know the difference. So making an excuse about, their background, their family must not have raised them right, blah, blah, blah. That is the bigotry of low expectations, Mr. Don Lemon. Way to be racist.
I think whites instill good moral values in them, and the young people just aren't listening. So I think it was grotesque. They need help. They need to be punished. But we also have to have an elevated conversation about the surroundings and the things that our young people are dealing with every day and the images that they're seeing. They might not watch the news, but they're on Twitter where the president-elect is. They're on Facebook. They're listening to the Breakfast Club. They're listening to the radio. And all of these nasty, nasty things that we've talked about, that we've witnessed over the last year, they have seeped into our children. They are in our schools. And it is coming to bear its ugly.
What the hell is she talking about? Does anybody know all of the nasty thing? I'm assuming she's talking about the rhetoric coming from the Donald Trump campaign and maybe some of their supporters, perhaps even some of the alt-right. Again, I believe the alt-right is an extremely racist, white nationalist, essentially the neo-Nazi group. So perhaps she's talking about that, but we have never seen anything thus far that has escalated to this point, except for on this side. Now, I don't know if these people are Black Lives Matter supporters, or they believe in Black Lives Matter, or they believe the narrative coming from Black Lives Matter, which has been proven to be false. The hands up, don't shoot is a false narrative. For those of you who don't know, it is a lie. Michael Brown was not executed in the street. He was shot in self-defense from an officer who was trying to defend his life from a charging man, a very large charging man. The guy was over 300 pounds, right? So this guy was linebacker, head down stance, charging at Officer Darren Wilson, and Darren Wilson shot him in self-defense after, by the way, Michael Brown had committed a strong-arm robbery and was being stopped and questioned, and they fought over the gun in the police cruiser when Michael Brown tried to take it from the officer. So, and then the gun went off in the vehicle and all this stuff. So, point being that that narrative is false. So, white cops aren't out there executing black people, and if they are, they should go to jail. And the cases that keep coming forward are the officers are either being let go because there's not enough evidence to prove this, and if there was enough evidence, they should go to jail. But most of these cases that you keep hearing in the news are not that situation. And if there is that situation, again, that officer should be punished and go to jail. I'm going to be the very first one to tell you that I think that people who commit crimes should go to jail. I'm a big fan of punishing criminals. So, and again, when I say punishing criminals, people who hurt people and take their stuff, they should be punished. They should be denied their freedom because your freedom to swing your fist ends at my face. And when you violate my rights, there should be consequences. And I want there to be consequences if I violate your rights. I want those consequences on me. Maybe I wouldn't at the time, but I'm telling you, it should be fair. That's the only way to have a fair and just society is if no one is above the law, no one gets special preferences, no one gets special treatment. Everyone is punished equally, and the punishment needs to match the crime. So here's more of the video.
Ugly head in very, very egregious way.
She's saying,
I would say that's true because you know what? The relationship of black people to America is very different than the relationship of white people to America. We're talking about years, 200 plus years of slavery. 87.
So slavery is the problem for this. Slavery caused this abduction. It's the culture. Again, this is the bigotry of low expectations. People cannot rise above things that have happened historically in the past. And let us not forget that there were Irish slaves here in America. There were white slaves. Slavery is not a phenomenon strictly held within the African American community. There were white slaves here. There were Cherokee slaves. There were all sorts of slaves. Anybody that they would put into slavery. I mean, they were making money. They were trying to get slaves. The Irish slaves didn't really work out so well because of their fair skin, and they weren't really doing so well in the sun. But again, slavery, something that happened way, way, way back in history. We're still blaming slavery for people's actions. Again, take freaking personal responsibility and make others take personal responsibility. Don't Don't come up with excuses for why they did what they did. These people were violent people. And I don't know what narrative they were listening to. I don't know if they were listening to the Black Lives Matter narrative. I don't know if they just wanted to watch, if they're the kind of people that just want to watch the world burn, and they want to just hurt people for no reason. Or maybe they were just racists, period, and they wanted to attack a white person. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not in their hearts. I'm not in their minds. I don't know. But what I can tell you is that this attack was racist. This attack was a hate crime. And it's awful and egregious, and these people should go to jail. And we certainly should not be coming up with excuses like, well, maybe they had a poor family life, or slavery is the problem. They are individuals who made a choice, and each one of them should be punished for that choice.
7+ years of Jim Crow. And I'm not making excuses for these things, but...
Yes, you are. You are making excuses. You just blame Jim Crow and slavery on an abduction and torture. Unbelievable. You are making excuses.
It is not the exact same thing. We have to talk about these at elevated levels. We can't boil it down to, someone saying something disparaging about the first black president of the United States of America when the current...
So is it okay if somebody said something about the first black president that was negative, is it okay to abduct them and torture them? No, it's not. Take responsibility and stop trying to shift responsibility off of these individuals for their bad behavior.
President-elect questioned his authenticity as an American. That has some layers to it.
I just think that
okay, again, so questioning Obama's birth, his place of birth, does that allow you? Does that give you the right? Does it give you justification to torture somebody? No. Quit making excuses.
Context for having watched that video, and the first or second thing maybe that you bring up is to inject well, maybe these... I mean, the impression I'm getting, at least from you, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that, maybe they were asking for this. Maybe Donald Trump... Donald Trump
I'm sorry.
This.
Let me clear this real up. I've never said no one was asking for it. The first thing that I said was, this is sickening, this is disgusting, and it was wrong. But what I did say was, we don't know if it's a hate crime.
Okay. Yeah, we do. We do know.
White people, boy. What?
We don't know if it's a hate crime.
Okay.
White people, what?
We do know. We do know that it's a hate crime. And again, this is the same kind of concept that you'll hear when people blame the victim. The victim was wearing a Donald Trump hat. We talked about one of these in the past. There was a victim who was assaulted, I believe, on a train and threatened with violence for wearing a Make America Great Again hat. All right, that person, maybe he should have took off his hat. Or women who are raped. Oh, maybe you shouldn't wear something provocative like that. You hear this kind of stuff blaming the victim all of the time, all right? By the way, this is happening in Europe right now, where women are being suggested that they cover up their skin and hair because of the amount of Muslim immigrants that have moved into their country, and people are being raped. It's a epidemic up there. It's the rape capital of the world now, of people getting raped, and they're victim blaming up there, saying, "Oh, you should cover up your hair and skin because you're asking for trouble. Shouldn't these people have been raped? Shouldn't they have covered up their skin and hair? They're asking for trouble." Look, this is blaming the victim. Take responsibility. If you commit a special crime, you should get a special punishment. That's my opinion, and I believe it's fair. So. Anyway, let's hear a little bit more. We have a tiny bit left in this clip.
We don't know if it's a hate crime.
Okay.
White people, what?
That's crazy.
We don't know.
Okay, it's just playing over and over. Okay, so you get the point. It was a hate crime. She is saying that these people had it come, and she blamed slavery, Jim Crow. She didn't want to blame the family because that'd be wrong to automatically assume that the black family is disheveled, but I digress. Don Lemon didn't agree with her on that, so he quickly blamed the family. Again, this is amazing. It's just amazing at what kind of mental hurdles the left is prepared to do to make excuses for these people. Here's Dana Lash talking about the Chicago kidnapping.
4 assailants, Jordan Hill, Tesfaye Cooper, Brittany Covington and Tanisha Covington were arrested after they kidnapped, bound, and gagged a special needs man. They kidnapped him, held him hostage for about 48 hours. And they streamed his torture on Facebook Live. There are multiple videos out there, too, by the way, not just that one. They cut him. They dropped cigarette ashes in his wounds. They strung him up by his neck. They made him drink toilet water and scream things like F Trump and F white people while doing it. What is going on with the youth today? What is going on in Chicago? One Twitter user remarked how girls acted as the ringleaders here. Now, law enforcement initially described this as kids, quote, making stupid decisions. A stupid decision is parking your truck in a spot that's too narrow for you to easily get out of. A stupid decision is not, I don't know, it's not getting kidnapped, it's not kidnapping someone and binding them and gagging them while torturing them on live internet. Look, Trump was not my primary candidate. But the primary and the general election are over. Now, I get there was money to be made by division grifters who claim to speak for me, but I digress. I called this over a year ago when I wrote Flyover Nation. It's, in fact, why I wrote Flyover Nation. And it was a year and a half ago, in fact. There are many flyover friends, many of my family members from the heartland who voted for Donald Trump. They are good people. They're not racist. They're not bigots. They're not Nazis. In fact, one of my very elderly family members, she voted for Trump. She voted for Trump after losing access to her specialist. Now, this relative of mine, she was tired of her concerns being met with nothing more than lectures about identity politics. These people, flyover people, have been stereotyped, and they have been mocked, and they have been ridiculed for my entire life. We are the first people to feel the burn of the coast's attacks on culture and Washington's bad policies. These are people who watched as Democrats peddled away jobs through burdensome corporate regulations. These people watched as Hillary Clinton told them she wanted to ruin their industries, take away their jobs, and impoverish their families, saying, quote, "We're going to put a lot of coal miners and coal companies out of business." Who the hell do you think works in that industry? It's populated by working class moms and dads. And as these folks struggled to keep employed, as these folks struggled to keep their lights on, pay their doctor's bills, keep food on the table, they were lectured by the left about bathrooms and pronouns. As these people lost their health insurance, they were told by the left that their realized fears were nothing more than made-up stories. These people watch programming packaged mostly by media entities on the coasts who don't care if flyover is burning or flooding like in Tennessee, so long as it's not California or New Jersey. Someone, and I can't recall whom for proper attribution, but someone I read recently put it brilliantly. These people felt like outsiders looking in, their faces pressed against the glass, wondering when they were going to get their piece of improvement. When were they going to get to win? Where was their hope? A disproportionate amount, and I have an entire chapter of this in my book, I'll cite it, a disproportionate amount of our military men and women come from these people, are these people. They are Flyover Nation. And these folks, well, they all got tired of hearing about how Hillary Clinton, she just couldn't sell people on her policies. Her inability to sell America on what she wanted to do for the country somehow became their fault. For the people pushing this, how dare you impugn the character of these people when it was your ideology that failed them, your policies that wouldn't sell. They were good enough to vote twice for Bill Clinton, but after they've been stepped on and walked over and ignored for the past 8+ years, they're suddenly racists and Nazis because they chose to gamble their vote on the hope of something different.
And I have to agree with this. I think this is a very powerful monologue. Again, personally, I don't think that there was a groundswell for Donald Trump in that he was such an excellent candidate. I think that people were just looking for something different. And Hillary Clinton represented everything the same. More of the leftist craziness. And people, instead of voting for somebody, they voted against somebody, which is fine. If that's how you wanted to spend your vote, that's fine. Personally, I don't believe that Donald Trump supporters are racist. I honestly don't think that Donald Trump himself is racist. Again, there's really no evidence to suggest that is verifiable. We can go off of things that people said that he did or said in the past, but there's nothing he said this election season, or even that I've found. And believe me, I've looked. All right, I've been honestly against the Donald Trump presidency this entire time. I voted for Darrell Castle. I think Donald Trump is a progressive statist. Now, I hope he proves me wrong. I want to eat a crap ton of crow on this issue. I want to be wrong, all right? So please don't get me wrong on that. I happen to think that he's a progressive statist, though. I think all of his solutions are typically big government. But I digress. I don't think that the people who voted for him are racist. I think people just wanted change, wanted something different. You saw what happened when Barack Obama took office. Hope and change. People wanted change. And my question has always been, from then and now, change to what? What are we changing to? What does the end look like? And now, after 8 years of Barack Obama, we don't even know what bathrooms to use. Yeah, we've changed quite a bit. This nation has changed. Race relations have certainly gotten far worse under 8 years of Barack Obama. I didn't think we'd be able to survive it, but I guess I was wrong. We made it. We made it through. We'll probably make it through Donald Trump again. I don't know what it will look like on the other side. I suspect that we're going to have some serious geopolitical problems with other nations, some serious civil unrest, and a economic collapse. This is what I believe is going to be happening underneath this administration. And I don't think any of it, well, I digress. I don't think most of it will be caused by Donald Trump. It's all of the policies from the Obama administration and before that have led us here. The petrodollar, the U.S. debt, all of this stuff is going to come biting us in the butt. There's nothing we can do. We got bubbles all across our economy. Obamacare itself is a bubble. The stock market is artificially propped up through QE, pumping trillions of dollars into it. It's not sustainable. This won't work. Housing bubbles, auto loan bubbles, student loan bubbles. You can't spin yourself into oblivion and expect not to face any consequences. So I think all of this is going to come to a head here in the Trump administration. And I don't think that the people who voted for Donald Trump are pushing back against the narrative from the left and instead of being on the PC side, they're anti-PC and racist. I think people just saw the policies from the past administration, from this administration that we have in office now, Barack Obama. I think they saw what these policies did to their life. They're taking their jobs. They're literally shutting down industry. They're making it harder for us to compete here and hurting the economy. We got over 90 million Americans who are not participating in the labor force right now. 90 million. We only got 320 million people here in the nation. 90 million, a third of the people in this country aren't working. So, yeah, I don't think people were racist. And to the other side, let me also point out, all right, not all people who voted for Donald Trump are racist. And not even all people in the alt-right are racist. I think some people don't even know what these groups are about. They may later learn. But even in Black Lives Matter, and I've said this before, I don't believe that all Black Lives Matter people are racist. The group, the organization itself is racist and communist, by the way. All you have to do is read their manifesto to understand this. They want reparations. They want black people to be treated differently, to get a special carve-out, special preferences than any other race. All right? Or just white people in general. They want more power for black people than white people will get. That is racist. That's akin to an apartheid. If that's what you want, you're racist. I'm sorry. But I know the vast majority of people out there supporting Black Lives Matter think that there's a real problem. They think that because they've heard the narrative from CNN, from MSNB Crazy, from all these other lefty news organizations, the Washington Compost, the New York Slimes, they think that black people are actually being killed in the street by white officers merely because they're black. Has nothing to do with the disproportional murder rate, violent crime rate coming from the black community. Young black men are far more likely to kill somebody than any other demographic. It's not a nice thing to say, but it's true. I'm sorry. It's true. So you ask why they're more likely to be in a conflict with an officer. Well, it's more likely something to do with the crime rate. All right? And again, these cases that keep coming forward have been disproven. The narratives coming out, hands up, don't shoot, have been disproven. Michael Gardner, by the way, the one case that I think is actually something that we should be talking about nationally is he was choked to death. He had a medical condition. He was choked to death by a police officer. He wasn't put in an illegal chokehold. He was put in a chokehold that was against the policy of the police department. There's a difference between that and illegal. He's put in a chokehold. This is a big man, another huge man. Multiple officers trying to take him down, resisting arrest. And what was he resisting arrest for? He was selling loose cigarettes on the sidewalk without the license to distribute tobacco products. So, and the government wasn't getting their sales tax. So they killed him for sales tax. This is the conversation we need to be having. The government's too big. Why is the government involved in our life? Why is the government getting between you and selling something that you own? It's your property. Why should the government be taxing it? Getting between you and your right to bargain, your right to contract. This man was killed by the government for taxes. And we're talking about a few cents of taxes per cigarette. That's what he was killed for. It wasn't because he was black. I believe, if I'm remembering the case right, there was a black officer on the scene who was in charge, the scene commander. That was a black female, if I'm recalling the case right. So, this wasn't a racially motivated. This is about statism. And that's the problem. That's the real problem. If somebody doesn't have the ability to use the government against you, then it doesn't matter if they're racist or not. Let them be racist. We have a beautiful thing called the freedom of association. We can choose not to associate with people. And we can also protest against those people. And we can, if we really want to protest, for example, a business, we can set up boycotts against a business because they don't want to serve black people or white people or whatever. We have the beautiful freedom of association. And rather than using government force against people for merely having a racist position or a racist thought and wanting the government to basically punish them for it, how about we start using the government to protect people's life, liberty, and property instead of going after it? How about that? Just a thought. Just a thought. But to the question, can black people be racist? Let me play a little clip here from the left. This is their perception. It's loading. My internet is going so slow right now. This is crazy. Or maybe this is YouTube. I don't know. But I'm trying to get this clip loaded, and it's not working. So I don't know what's going on.
Racism presupposes the ability to control a significant segment of the population economically, politically, and socially by imposing law, covenant, and restriction on their lives. Black people ain't had no capacity to do that. Can we be bigoted? Yes. Can we be prejudiced? Yes. Racist? No.
So that is what they're saying. They're saying basically because they don't have the ability to impose their will using governmental force on somebody, they can't be racist. And there's more on this. We're going to play more. I have another clip here of MTV saying black people can't be racist. You guys don't want to miss what's coming up next. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign. Have you visited the On the Move with Mac Worley store? We've got amazing original design t-shirts, hoodies, cell phone cases, and coffee mugs for sale at OnTheMoveShow.com. Just click the shop link on our homepage. You won't want to miss out on the iHeart Open Carry and Bear Arms t-shirts for only $20 plus shipping. Again, just go to OnTheMoveShow.com and click the shop link on our homepage. Your purchases will help make the On the Move show bigger and better. We appreciate your support.
Oath Keepers is a nonpartisan association of current active duty military, reserve, guard, veterans, peace officers, and firefighters who will fulfill the oath we swore, with the support of like-minded citizens who take an oath to stand with us, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help us God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III.
All right, we're back. We got some activity on Twitter. Natasha says Trump isn't a good example regarding bringing back overseas jobs. His clothes and accessories are all made outside of the United States. I agree. I've been saying that for quite a while. I don't believe that he's the solution to our problems, as he espouses he is the only solution to the problem. But again, we've made our bed. We're going to sleep in it now. We're going to have to see what happens as a result of Donald Trump's tariff policies and things like that. Honestly, I don't think things are going to end well for us. I don't think that he's going to be responsible for the economic collapse that's coming. I think it's going to be a global economic collapse. But I do think he's going to trigger it if he continues these threats of tariffs and things like that. If he actually follows through with tariffs and creates a trade war, I don't foresee things going very well. The petrodollar will collapse. We have so much of our debt out there. I think our dollar will eventually become worthless. But this is my opinion. We'll see what happens. Anyway, when we last left, I was talking about this clip here that this gentleman saying black people cannot be racist. Here's the clip again, and then I'm going to go into this MTV clip talking about how black people can't be racist.
Racism presupposes the ability to control a significant segment of the population economically, politically, and socially by imposing law, covenant, and restriction on their lives. Black people ain't had no capacity to do that. Can we be bigoted? Yes. Can we be prejudiced? Yes. Racist? No.
Okay, so let's just go up. Basically to impose your will on somebody is essentially what he was defining as racism. Let's look up the Merriam-Webster dictionary definition of racism. Let's go and play it real quick.
Racism.
Oh, one more time, what was that?
Racism.
Okay. The definition is a belief that a race is the primary determinant of human traits and capacities, and that racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. A doctrine, this is the second one here, this is 2A, a doctrine or political program based on the assumption of racism and designed to execute its principles, to be a political or social system founded on racism, or 3, racial prejudice or discrimination. Nothing about imposing will on anyone, so essentially what this gentleman has done is done the very Orwellian wordsmithing that they like to do. They like to change the definitions of words. They just change what things mean and use them very liberally to describe different things. they'll, again, this is wordsmithing. That's all it is. You're changing the definition, okay? Very Orwellian. And we have more on this here. We have MTV saying that black people can't be racist. This is Paul Joseph Watson commenting on this. Is a clip from him, and I'll go ahead and play it. Here we go.
We're going to talk about racism.
According to MTV's Francesca Ramsey, it's impossible for black people to be racist. Ramsey claims that the dictionary definition of racism, the hatred or intolerance of another race, isn't the true meaning of racism.
Because it's just the dictionary.
Really? Isn't that convenient? So it's okay for social justice warriors to claim, just look at the dictionary.
It's just the dictionary. I mean, it's only in the dictionary.
Definition when it comes to feminism.
All you morons who are too f***ing stupid to look up the definition of feminism.
With no mention of the fact that radical feminism, in practice, has virtually nothing to do with the dictionary definition of feminism, but suddenly different rules apply when you're talking about racism. Ramsey says black people can't be racist towards white people, only prejudice.
Reverse racism is not a thing.
First off, that has no legal basis whatsoever. According to the 1968 Civil Rights Act and the 1994 Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act, a racially motivated hate crime carries the same punishment no matter the race of the perpetrator or the victim.
So let's also point out here that this whole term, reverse racism, I have a major problem with this term. First of all, I was not racist first to you to be racist to me. And by the way, I have seen racist black people be racist to me before. I have witnessed this firsthand. I saw, by the way, I saw an interesting Twitter conversation from someone that I know very close to me, who they were told that they were racist because they used the term Ebonics. Now, this person using the term Ebonics was a black person, all right? And this other person said that they needed to use another phrase, a very politically correct phrase, because Ebonics was offensive. And this black person that I know, she said, I don't think it's racist to say Ebonics. And she was immediately attacked, saying, when did you know you were racist? So I just find it this whole attacking, calling people racist kind of thing for lesser than racist things that aren't, they're not racist, okay? Things that are politically incorrect are not racist. If somebody is truly being racist, they have hate. They have hate. They are treating a person differently because of their color, their religious bias, whatever it is, sexual orientation, all of that stuff. You're treating people differently, and that's like discrimination. That's racism. It's like Martin Luther King said, treat people based off their content of the character and not the color of their skin. But anyway, we got more from the clip. Here we go.
Secondly, she claims it's only racism if it's backed by a major institution.
But when a person of color discriminates or stereotypes a white person because of their race, in the United States, they don't have the institutional power to back them up and say that those feelings are okay.
We have a black president. What the heck, man? How can black people not have any institutional power? They have the same power that I do, by the way. I have one vote, so do they. What power do I have as a white man that is institutional? We have a black president today. Sure, he's about to go out of office, but we got a black president today. What special power do I have?
Oh, you mean like affirmative action? Major institutions of learning giving African Americans college places based on their skin color and not their academic achievement in favor of whites. Is that racist? Goldsmiths University, a major institution, refusing to fire student diversity officer Bahar Mustafa after she banned white people from attending a college event. Is that racist? Black on white.
Yes, it is.
White crime. The major institution of media routinely ignoring or downplaying the fact that black people are 27 times more likely to attack white people than vice versa, while collectively blaming all white people when one nutcase goes on a rampage. Is that racist? Only white people can be racist. Really?
Black people are racist, or the most racist.
Okay, so one of the things that he actually mentioned here that I would like to mention about is the Dylan Roof massacre. Okay. I would argue that is probably the most egregious one that we saw. I hadn't thought about that one. But yeah, that was racially motivated. He was a racist. He hated black people. He wanted to start a race war. So, okay, I can say it with confidence that, as far as on the right, that was probably the worst one to date. That definitely is arguably worse than, somebody who was kidnapped and tortured. But because there was a loss of life. But still, let's also point out, at no point has Donald Trump linked himself to Dylan Roof. Dylan Roof is not linked to Donald Trump. That was a while ago, so it's probably out of most people's minds. It was out of mine. I hadn't really thought about it for a while, although he has been in the news recently with this case. And that was a particularly heinous act, too. That was very evil. That guy had evil in his heart. And I don't know if it was just about black people, but I'm willing to say that he was racist and he wanted to kill black people because I heard some of the stuff that he said. He wanted to start a race war. So, yes, let's be fair. Let's blame it on both sides. That's probably the worst that has happened. But again, not linked to Donald Trump. So it does not excuse this abduction, this torturing that happened in Chicago from a white man from 4 black people. It's not an excuse. And again, I was one of the very first people as well to condemn the shooter in I think it was Charleston. I'm pretty sure that's where that happens. I wasn't prepared to talk about this today, but yeah, it's wrong, and no matter what side you're on, you should condemn it. It doesn't matter if you're on the right, even if he had identified with that, which I don't know if he did. If he did, it was alt-right at a minimum. It's very, very far fringe, craziness over there, and that's not what I represent. And I will be happy to call out bad activity on either side. And I think that's what we have to be able to do when somebody hurts somebody. When they take their stuff, when they violate the non-aggression principle, we should all resoundingly speak out against them. And if it's not something that we can jail them for, if it's something that that we can boycott or use our freedom of association, if we feel that passionately about it, then we ought to do that too. But anyway, here's more from this clip.
Is that racist? Only white people can be racist. Really?
The black people are racist, are the most racist people than any other race on this planet.
Was it not racist when Bryce Williams shot dead Alison Parker live on air in order to create what he called a race war? Was it not racist when a gang of black radicals called for lynching whites and killing cops just days before Deputy Darren Goforth was gunned down in cold blood? Was it not racist when the major institution of media refused to identify the suspect as black? Was it not racist when a black couple beat this white woman while yelling, "Wrong hood, bitch"?
Bitch! Wrong hood, bitch! Wrong hood, bitch! Wrong hood, bitch!
Is it not racist for the major institution, which is MTV, to endlessly make TV shows and YouTube videos lecturing white people about how racist they are? Seriously, this channel is called MTV News. Music Television News. Yet over half of the previous 24 videos have been about racism. Plus, it's completely inaccurate to claim that only major institutions wield power in today's society. Twitter outrage mobs wield huge power. We see them getting people fired and destroying people's lives all the time.
Agreed. This is a major point. This whole idea that white people have some kind of special power or special position is a completely false narrative. I have one voice. That's all I have. I got a microphone, but I have a voice. All right? You can do everything that I do. It doesn't matter what skin color you have. And let's just point out, we got a black president. You can do anything you want in this country if you're smart, you're willing to work hard, and you get lucky. That's it. It has you find a break. You find a break. That's all you have to do. You have to be smart. You have to work hard and find your break. Every single person, regardless of your skin color, religious bias, sexual orientation, nation of origin, every single person can be successful in this country if they have those three things happen. They're smart, they work hard, and they get a lucky break. And if you know what, even if they only have one or two of those things happen, you can still be successful. It doesn't matter what color your skin is, what church you go to, who you sleep with next to you in bed. That doesn't matter. No one has any special power here. The government, again, the only thing that the government does is attack us all. All right? And I'm not anti-government. I'm anti-big government. The government hangs us upside down by our ankles and shakes money from our pockets. And they fleece us all. The answer is not turning against each other, but turning against the bad actors that we associate ourselves with, using that beautiful freedom of association to remove people that advocate to harm others, to advocate for hate, remove those people from our organizations, from our lives, from the things that we associate with. We stop, serving, or we stop going to their businesses or whatever. We boycott. We use the power that individuals have. We don't go straight to the government and try to silence somebody because they're racist. If somebody's speaking racist things, we let them speak the racist things. We encourage them to speak because, first of all, we want to be able to debate with them. Second of all, we want to know who the racist people in the community are so we can avoid them using that beautiful power of association that we all have. And we can form Twitter mobs if that's the thing, if that's your thing. If you want to be a social justice warrior, you have that power too, whether or not you're white, black, Chinese, doesn't matter. You have that power. We all do, unless the government tries to take it away from us, which is something we should all be careful about.
And almost every time that happens, it's white people being publicly shamed for saying something politically incorrect.
Good people can unintentionally say and do racist things.
But not if you're killing white people to try and start a race war. No, that's not racist at all, is it?
Or just wind up supporting racist institutions and practices without even realizing it.
Oh, you mean like Black Lives Matter, right? Supporters of which routinely call for murdering white people.
So do you agree with Malcolm X that white people should be killed? Is that why you're here?
You damn right I do! So yeah, you do need to die.
Colorblindness is not going to fix racism. It's a good idea in theory, but ignoring race is not going to solve racism. Race isn't the problem. Treating people differently based on race is the problem.
So treating people differently based on race is part of the problem. But being colorblind and treating everyone equally, regardless of race, is still racist.
This is just craziness, in my opinion. Seriously, if I thought that being colorblind was supposed to be a good thing, I've lived my life treating people based on who they are, what they show me, as far as how they treat others, the content of their character. I personally, I'm not colorblind because I don't think it's not possible to be colorblind, to walk into a room and not identify if somebody is the same as you or different than you. I don't think that's possible. Obviously, you're going to notice if somebody you're talking to is an Asian person, a black person, a white person, you're going to pick up on that stuff. And I think that's fine. I think there's nothing wrong to identify what this person is. All right, as far as their ethnicity, nothing wrong with that. But to treat them differently because of that is racist. To show someone a different, some kind of different reaction from you simply because of their race, whether or not it's to, buddy up to somebody because they're the same race as you, or to treat someone negatively simply because they're the same race as you. I think that is inherently racist. We should, if we're going to self-sort, we shouldn't self-sort ourselves in our own races. We shouldn't segregate ourselves from each other, but we should segregate ourselves from the people who are actually genuinely racist, have hate in their hearts, and want to treat people differently based on the color of their skin. Again, that is racism. All of this fake stuff that the media is talking about, NTV is talking about, this is not racist. Again, even if somebody unintentionally says something racist, who knows if they intended to be racist, first of all, because of all the political correctness, how it changes every day. They could say the wrong thing. They could say, for example, colored people instead of people of color. All right, they may not understand. They may be from another generation that doesn't speak like that, like we speak now. All right, they may not intentionally be trying to be racist. How do they treat people? That's the question we should be asking. And Natasha on Twitter says she doesn't call herself colorblind because she sees colors, but I never treat anyone differently regardless of their skin color. I think that's the way to be, honestly. And I reject the notion that we shouldn't be trying to treat each other equally at all times. I reject that notion. But I digress. Let's go ahead. Let's move on to another topic here. I have one final thing here, actually, on this topic of racism. I got a former Chicago police chief tearing into Black Lives Matter. Here's some audio that he did on a podcast talking about this. In fact, I'll let you guys, if you want to listen to this, I'm going to post this on my Facebook, and we're just going to move on to another topic because we don't got a whole lot more time in the show here. I'm going to post this on Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. And if you want to hear this police chief, this former police chief talking about Black Lives Matter, you can do that on that location. Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow is published right now, and I'm also going to tweet it right now as well. Hold on one second here. There we go. Tweeted. Okay. So anyway, you can get that tweet at OnTheMoveShow on Twitter. All right. So let's move on to another topic here. I want to plow through some of this other stuff here. We got videos from Denver police taking blankets from homeless people. This, I thought, was one of the most ridiculous things that I've seen people doing here. Now, they're going after these people, these homeless people, because there are laws that outlaw camping, essentially. So let me read the situation here. Mayor Michael Hannock, this is an update in the article here, Hannock has ordered Denver police officers to stop taking survival gear from homeless individuals, including blankets and tent, when enforcing the city's urban camping ban through April 2017. So they've actually, since this went viral, this has actually changed something here. Again, what systemic privilege do white people have here? This is what everybody can do. You can make your voice heard. You can put pressure on politicians. They don't like Twitter campaigns against them, and they'll bend, or they'll break. One of the two. But if you have a cause and you want to use your voice to speak out against something, you have every right and you have every ability. We're so connected now. You can even go outside of the official narrative. Again, even if the news is not covering you, you can still go viral on YouTube. Look at what happened with my arrest video. If you're not familiar with me, by the way, I got arrested unlawfully in Vancouver for carrying a firearm. Okay, Vancouver, Washington, not Canada. And I was open carrying a firearm, completely legal to have one out there to do that. And I was unlawfully arrested. And my video now has like 2 million something views on YouTube now. 2 million. 2 million people. Whether or not they agree or disagree with what I was doing, that doesn't matter. I've reached 2 million people, more than that, because my channel overall has like 4 million views on it on YouTube. YouTube.com/OnTheMoveShow. I have managed to reach that many people. I'm just one man. If you use your voice for whatever you're passionate about, whatever issue or cause that you want to talk about, you can reach people. So again, I didn't get these 2 million views because I was white. That's not what happened. All right, it had nothing to do with my skin color. Anyway, this article about these police taking the blankets. 2 recently captured videos have been widely circulated around the internet through social media networks, showing Denver police officer confiscating blankets from homeless people during bitterly cold weather conditions. The officers took the items as evidence of people violating the city's urban camping ban. One video was posted on November 29th by a local business owner who had been viewed this video had been viewed nearly 200,000 times as of Friday afternoon. Here is the video. They linked it. I'm not going to play the video. I will post this link here if you guys are interested. There's another one that happened. The city has maintained that it's dangerous and unhealthy for anyone to be sleeping outside and aims to have all homeless individuals check into overnight shelters. shelters. On Friday afternoon, the ACLU of Colorado sent a letter to Hancock, the mayor, demanding that the police officer stop taking homeless people's blankets. The letter, which references 2 videos, suggests that the city immediately suspend enforcement of its urban camping ban and focus on alternative solutions. So, look, personally, this is wrong. People have if you're homeless, where are you supposed to go? They want you to go to these shelters, but these shelters are, in some way, in many cases, they're very dangerous places to be. And if somebody doesn't want to be in this shelter, I don't think the police have the right to force them to be there. I don't think they have a right to take away their property, their personal property, as so-called evidence in a crime, in order to force them into this homeless shelter, which is in fact dangerous. I've shared the article here. You guys can check it out if you want to see the video of police actually confiscating sleeping bags and tents and extremely cold nighttime scenarios here from homeless people that are already, they're already down, and you're going to kick them while they're down and take away their property. This is unbelievable and despicable. This is not what the police, who are supposed to serve and protect, should be doing. Again, the government, the entire purpose of this government was to protect life, liberty, and property. This, I argue, is going against life, liberty, and property. It's actually all 3 of them. It's our liberty to camp on public property. If it's public, everybody owns it. In my opinion, they should be able to camp on public property. It's my personal opinion. However, I think there should be a hell of a lot less public property. I don't think there should be a whole ton of public property out there. The government shouldn't own all this land. But I think that people who don't have any place to go, people who are homeless, should be allowed to camp in public spaces if they wanted to. I don't think the government has a right to shove you out of public space. Now, I don't see any issue with them limiting the amount of time that you're there, and so you can't make, like a public space your permanent living spot or something like that. Maybe you should, have like a 30-day limit or something. I don't know. I'm spitballing here. But this is ridiculous. It goes against your liberty to camp wherever. It goes against your property because they're seizing your private property. And it obviously, it's putting these people's lives at risk, so it goes against life as well. The government is going against, in this situation, life, liberty, and property. I'm so happy that they stopped. I posted this out on a social media. You can check it out at OnTheMoveShow, Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. You guys can check that out. Got another article here. 3,000 homeless people denied food. This is WakingTimes.com. Posted November 17, 2016. 3,000 homeless people denied food as city forces charity to bleach food and throw it in the dumpster. The article is written by Matt Agorist of the Free Thought Project. He was, I guess, writing for this. Every year, for the last 5 years, volunteers of Cooker's Care, a group of barbecue chefs with hearts as big as their stomachs, have worked together to feed thousands of hungry homeless people. However, this year, 3,000 homeless people expecting that food were denied it, thanks to the cold and callous hand of the state. Every year, after the annual food festivities have finished, selfless volunteers rounded up thousands of pounds of leftovers from the massive cook-off and prep them for distribution for the less fortunate. Every year this has gone off without a hitch until this year. After volunteers collected the food to be distributed to the homeless, the same food, which was just deemed safe enough to dish out to the cook-off attendees, was then labeled for destruction by Kansas City health inspectors. Volunteers were heartbroken when they were forced to destroy the perfectly good barbecue by covering it in bleach and then throwing it in a dumpster. It was the whole gamut. If you can think of the most magnificent barbecue spread, that's what we threw away yesterday. By the hundreds of pounds, said Bill Dirk, Associate Director of Hope City. According to ABC 7 this year, that magnificent barbecue spread was more than 3,000 pounds of meat and 1,200 pounds of sides. All that food is then distributed to ministries with food kitchens like Hope City on Kansas City's east side. And about everybody out there is like, all right, we're going to eat beans, potatoes, briskets, burnt ends, ribs. It's awesome, Dirk said. However, just as Dirk prepared to dish out this magnificent feast to those who could not feed themselves here comes the bureaucrats. The health inspectors forced the group to destroy 700 pounds of completely edible food. Because they felt like they opened up a can of worms, the health inspectors delayed the serving of all the food, and the entire 4,200 pounds of food will now be wasted. They were expecting lunch, and for it to be a really good lunch, and just having it taken away was a bummer. We were all bummed out, Dirk said. Health officials say it was destroyed because it wasn't from a permitted establishment, and they couldn't track where the food had been. Therefore, they couldn't ensure its safety. Wow. So they're just going to destroy 4,200 pounds of food. Unbelievable. I'm sharing that out on our social media as well right now. If you would like to read the rest of that story, please feel free. What do you guys think? Hit me up on Twitter at OnTheMoveShow, Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. You can give us a call, 360-450-5625. Again, that's 360-450-5625. Were the police out of line in this situation? Should they have forced them to throw away all of that food? On Twitter, we got some notifications here, by the way. Let's go ahead and see what Twitter's saying. Natasha on Twitter: homeless shelters have limited beds and strict rules. If you arrive 2 minutes late, you can't sleep there. Not a fan of churches, but they should open doors to homeless people for free, especially in winter. Look, I agree with that as well. I think if people want to reach out and do acts of charity, I have no problem with people being charitable. My personal problem with the government and these programs that do this kind of stuff is it's forced charity. It's redistribution of wealth, taking money from one group and giving it to another. That's forced charity is not charity. You're not going to earn a special place in heaven or something because you paid your taxes. It was forced. I don't like the whole idea when the government becomes the main source of goodwill and charity. I actually think that it does detriment to a society when people cede that ground to the government. Again, governments are very destructive. Governments have killed more people in history than any other unnatural force. So, just in the last century alone, governments killed millions and millions of people. So, not to be trusted. Certainly not the place that we should turn to for charity and goodwill. That all starts at the individual level. At us, we should be looking out for our for our fellow man. We have a common interest in doing that. And what I think that it should really, it's not something that we're bound to by law, that we should be bound to by law to look out for each other. But we have a moral obligation to one another. I am morally responsible if I have the ability to help somebody. I'm morally responsible to help them, but not to give them a handout. I'm morally responsible if I see someone around me struggling. I'm responsible to give them a hand up or to do something, to donate to charity. But I don't think that moral responsibility should be enforced by law, and I certainly don't think that the government should be forced or should be the ones deciding what is moral and what is not, and using that force to make people take positive actions, like doing something like paying your taxes in order to fund these homeless shelters. So Natasha says no, they shouldn't have been forced to destroy the food. That's ridiculous. People are dying of hunger while they're destroying food. Agreed. Absolutely agree. All right, so let's go ahead excuse me, and look at our featured topics again here and see what other featured topics we had for today. I want to make sure I'm covering all this stuff here. Okay, let's see. More conflict with China and Iran. Let's go ahead and put this up here. So we've got China has seized an unmanned vehicle. This is AmericanMilitaryNews.com. China seizes a U.S. unmanned Navy vehicle in the South China Sea. According to a report, China's Navy has seized an unmanned underwater U.S. Navy vehicle collecting scientific data in the international waters of the South China Sea. A U.S. defense official told Reuters on Friday that a Chinese Navy warship has captured the drone, which triggered a formal, I have no idea what that word means, demarche, I don't know, from the U.S., and a demand for its return. The official also disclosed that the unprecedented incident happened on December 15th northwest of Subic Bay off the Philippines. These are international waters that the Chinese military has claimed as their own. China just committed an act of war against us, folks. Even if they didn't know it was us, they don't have the right to attack anyone in international waters. It doesn't belong to them. It's international. Now they have committed, even though it was an unmanned vehicle, I would consider this an act of war, honestly. Again, we have over and over seen the Chinese military, the Chinese Navy, try to flex its muscles in the Chinese South China Sea. So they're trying to claim it's their territory. But anyway, I want to cut to a commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk more about this and a conflict that happened with Iran. So you guys don't want to go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Have you visited the On the Move with Mac Worley store? We've got amazing original design t-shirts, hoodies, cell phone cases, and coffee mugs for sale at OnTheMoveShow.com. Just click the shop link on our homepage. You won't want to miss out on the iHeart Open Carry and Bare Arms t-shirts for only $20 plus shipping. Again, just go to OnTheMoveShow.com and click the shop link on our homepage. Your purchases will help make the On the Move show bigger and better. We appreciate your support. Are you an activist who needs affordable flyers or brochures for passing out literature? Or a political candidate who's looking for business cards, logo designs, yard signs, or vehicle decals? Email me, Latasha Worley, for all your graphic design needs at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com. And don't forget to mention On the Move to get a 10% discount on all graphic design services.
Oath Keepers is a nonpartisan association of current active duty military, reserve, guard, veterans, peace officers, and firefighters who will fulfill the oath we swore, with the support of like-minded citizens who take an oath to stand with us, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help us God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III.
All right, we're back. Welcome to the third hour of the program. Probably not going to do a whole third hour. We'll see how far this goes. Anyway, this vehicle, this underwater vehicle, this U.S. military drone that was in the water in the South China Sea, according to this article on American Military News, it's a sovereign immune vessel, clearly marked in English, not to be removed from the water, that it was U.S. property. So, first of all, let me just point out, China knew that it belonged to us. They took it, they knew it was ours, they knew they shouldn't have done it. They're flexing their muscle in the South China Sea. And they're claiming this is their territory. And it is international waters. So it doesn't matter who they would have attacked in this situation. And I consider this an attack. It wouldn't have mattered if it was us or anyone. If they went after anyone, I would have considered this an act of war. The Chinese military, the Chinese Navy just attacked us. What's going to happen here? Will this escalate? How is this going to resolve? Now, they're talking about returning the seized drone. This is a Reuters.com article. China to return seized U.S. drone. Says Washington hyping up incident. I wouldn't hype up an incident. This isn't hype. This is a clear act of aggression. It wouldn't have mattered if it was us or anyone else. If you attack and take a drone out of the water in international waters, it doesn't belong to you. You don't have a right to it. They are clearly being aggressors. According to the article written by Ben Blanchard and Steve Holland, the article was written, by the way, on December 18th, 2016. China will return an underwater U.S. drone seized by a naval vessel this week in the South China Sea. Both countries said on Saturday, but Beijing complained that Washington has been hyping up the incident. The U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, who has vowed to take an aggressive approach in dealing with China over its economic and military policies, jumped on the unusual drone seizure with a pair of provocative tweets accusing Beijing of stealing the equipment. The drone, known as an unmanned underwater vehicle, a UUV, was taken on Thursday, the first seizure of its kind in recent memory. The Pentagon went public with its complaint after the action and said on Saturday it had secured a deal to get the drone back. Through direct engagement with Chinese authorities, we have secured an understanding that the Chinese will return the UUV to the United States. Pentagon spokesman Peter Cook said in a statement, the drone, which the Pentagon said was operating lawfully, was collecting data about the salinity, temperature, and clarity of the water about 50 nautical miles northwest of the Subic Bay off of the Philippines. It was seized just as the USNS Bowditch was about to retrieve it, the U.S. official said. Chinese Defense Ministry said a Chinese vessel discovered a piece of unidentified equipment and checked it to prevent any navigational safety issues before discovering it was a U.S. drone. China decided to return it to the U.S. Side in an appropriate manner, and China and the U.S. have all along been in communication about it, said the ministry on its website. During the process, the U.S. side's unilateral and open hyping up is inappropriate and is not beneficial to the smooth resolution of this issue. We express regret at this, it added. So, let's see here. We got some stuff about what Trump said here. Trump, a Republican who takes office on January 20th, waded into the dispute on Twitter early on Saturday from his seaside resort club Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, where he plans to spend the holidays. China steals United States Navy research drone in international waters, rips it out of water, and takes it to China in unprecedented act, he said. After China said it would return the drone, Jason Miller, a spokesperson for Trump, tweeted a link to a news story saying, "Real Trump gets it done." There was, however, no evidence that Trump had played any role. U.S. officials said the negotiations took place in Beijing during the overnight hours in the United States. Miller did not respond to requests for comment. So I think this is actually one of the ones. Maybe I'm getting these things confused, but I think Donald Trump actually tweeted something about keep the drone or something like that. I'm doing a control search here for this article. Keep it. Oh, okay. Here we go. Hours later, while riding in a motorcade back to his resort, Trump tweeted his second jab: "We should tell the Chinese that we don't want the drone they stole back. Let them keep it." So, first of all, I wouldn't say keep it to the Chinese because they probably would. But this is serious, folks. They are asserting their military force in the South Chinese Sea. All right, they are claiming territory that does not belong to them as their own, and they're saying safety. Again, this is the same excuse that the government does anytime they try to violate our rights. Officer safety. Same kind of crap. They're using the same excuses. They didn't have the right. They didn't have the right to do this. This was international waters. Doesn't belong to them. This would be the equivalent of them just hijacking a boat and saying it belonged to them. So, now we got other stuff that's going on. What's happening with Iran? Well, here's a breaking story. Red State. This article is dated January 9th. This happened today. Article is posted on the 8:15 this morning. So breaking: U.S. Navy fires warning shots at approaching Iranian vessels. Coming in from multiple sources, the U.S. Navy has had to fire warning shots at the Iranian Iranian Revolutionary Guard vessels that were closing in on the ships at a high rate of speed Monday. Here's a report from Reuters, who spoke with defense officials. The officials, speaking in the condition of anonymity, said the USS Mahan, I think is USS Mahan, established radio communications with the boats, but they did not respond to requests to slow down. The The Navy destroyer fired warning flares, and a U.S. Navy helicopter also dropped a smoke float. I'm not sure what that is. The Iranian vessels came within 900 yards, 800 meters of the Mahan, I think is how you say that, which was escorting 2 other U.S. ships, they said. Iran, feeling emboldened by the last 8 years, are now openly harassing U.S. naval forces. It's only a matter of time before they do something far worse. This is a direct result of the lack of response to their actions during the Barack Obama terms in office. This is according to the article here on Red State. So I would happen to agree with this. And this is not a new thing. This is something that the Iranians have been doing. First of all, they hijacked one of our vehicles, and they had absolutely no right to do that. They literally kidnapped our men. They basically did things to embarrass them. They made them talk about their what they were doing out there and apologize on TV for coming into their waters or something like that. I mean, this was crazy, and this is all right on the heels of the Iran deal. So the Iranians are doing this kind of tactic with their speedboats. They got these really fast speedboats that they drive out and they try to challenge our warships, and this is something that is going to continue, folks. Both Iran and China and Russia, they're all flexing their muscles here. And again, what we have to ask ourselves is this U.S. hegemony that we have right now. If you're not familiar with what U.S. hegemony is, it's the ability to basically be the world's police. You're maintaining peace throughout the world. You're imposing your military force on everyone else to make sure there's no nation-to-nation warfare. We've essentially seen an end to that. We've experienced a relative peace because of U.S. hegemonic power. We're able to impose our will around the world, and relatively speaking, we're not in that same kind of nation-to-nation warfare period that we used to be in because of U.S. hegemonic power. But do we want to continue this? Is it worth it? And are we able to actually maintain it, for one? I argue that this whole experiment here is over. As far as us being the world's police, this is going to come to an end here. And what I think that we should be doing is looking to our allies around the world and really deciding who we're prepared to fight and die for. And more importantly, who is prepared to fight and die for us, if anyone. And I personally, I don't think that we should be trying to protect everyone. We can't. You have to protect yourself. You're responsible for your own situation. You have personal responsibility. We cannot protect you from everything. And we shouldn't protect you from everything. You should have an incentive to protect yourself. But now allies that we have strategic reasons to be allied with, and especially if they're willing to protect us, then maybe we should have strategic alliances. But we should definitely analyze those who we do have strategic alliances with right now and determine if we have anybody who's a strategic ally that we're not really going to go to war for. It's what we did in the Ukraine, by the way. We were supposed to protect Ukraine. We had an agreement with them. We said that if they got rid of their nuclear weapons, we would protect them from Russian aggression, and we didn't. So if we're not really prepared to follow through on these alliances, perhaps we should identify the ones that we're not and strengthen the ones that we are. Because this is going to be a continued thing. You're going to see Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, Cuba. They're all going to be pushing. Biting at the edges. And there's going to be more bad actor nations that are going to pop up on the fringes. And obviously ISIS to contend with. But we really have to we have to be careful about what's going to happen in the future here. And really ask ourselves, do we want to get involved in global war? Is that something that we want? And if we're prepared to go to global war, we need to draw those lines. and really understand why we're not just arbitrarily draw lines on a map, red lines like the Barack Obama administration did in Syria. We got a red line in Syria if they use chemical weapons, and it didn't mean anything. He wasn't prepared, and thank goodness, because the American people didn't want to go to Syria. The American people don't want to fight for other people who don't care about us, who literally, a lot of people would like to see us out of their country. And by the way, didn't invite us in the country. So why should we fight for somebody who doesn't want us there? Why should we pay money, go into further debt to help people who don't want us there, don't want us meddling in their business? If they want Russia there, Syria should be able to have Russia there. They're a sovereign nation. We are not the world's police. And I argue that none of this is about trying to save people over chemical weapons. It's not about a humanitarian reasons. It's about money and oil. It's about the petrodollar. If you don't know what the petrodollar is, I've covered it before. Look it up. It is essentially a Ponzi scheme to get everyone to buy their oil in U.S. dollars. And they want this pipeline going through Syria, up into Turkey, supplying Europe to oil. So they want this. They need this. But the Saudis are the ones that are supplying a lot of the oil. Got to go through Syria. Anyway. So this is going to continue happening. We really need to really talk about this, and also talk about what other nations in the world are doing right now. So Poland, for example, they've acquired a first strike capability to pose a threat to Russia. It's an article on Zero Hedge written by Tyler Durden, January 9th, 2017. It should be noted that quite often the most interesting arms contracts escape media attention. That's how it was in 2016. Signing a multi-billion-dollar military aid package between the United States and Israel, and the subsequent White House approval for a long-awaited fighter sales to the Middle East hit the radar screen. In late September, the U.S. approved the sales of Boeing fighters worth a total of $17 billion to Kuwait and Qatar. First mooted around 2 years ago, the deal had been held up by the U.S. government due to Israeli concerns and in order to smooth the way for nuclear talks with Iran. The same month, a $38 billion Israeli arms package over the next 10 years, the largest of its kind ever, was finalized and signed. The news about those contracts was a real scoop hitting the headlines of all mainstream media outlets. In late November, the State Department approved another transaction. The acquisition of 70 AGM-15 8B JASSM, I believe, JASSM, I don't know, extended range missiles for Poland. JASSM-ER, extended range missiles for Poland. The deal undeservedly failed to attract much attention. In fact, it matters much and changes a lot. The prospects for the acquisition of the extended range version were discussed as far back as 2014. The U.S. obviously procrastinated due to political consideration. The decision to make the deal go through makes Poland the first state outside the U.S. to acquire the JASSM-ER missiles. So, in 2014, Poland signed a contract to procure the JASSM AGM-15A Alpha version for its F-16CD jets. The stealth missile is designed to destroy ground targets at a distance of 370 plus kilometers or 230 miles. As of 2014, the JASSM had also entered service in Australia and Finland. The 300 kilometer is a great range for the purpose of self-defense, but Poland badly wanted strategic conventional first strike capability. With the JASSM deal reached, its dream has come true. Using a more efficient engine and larger fuel volume in an airframe with the same external dimensions as the JASSM-ER has an operational range of 1,000 plus kilometers or 260 miles, an effective stealth weapon to knock out key stationary infrastructure sites located deep in Russia's territory. The weapon boasts a penetrating warhead. With the AGMR-15-8A expected to become fully operational this year, Poland has the aircraft and crews ready to receive the extended-range version. The JASSM ER has 70% hardware commonality and 95% commonality with the original AGM-15-8 JASSM. There's a lot of terminology in here. So basically, long story short, Poland has increased their capability, which I'm sure is putting Russia off and making them concerned. Russia's always talking about provocations, and if we're worried about the Chinese and the Russians and the Iranians with their provocations, this should be noted. This was a provocation as well against the Russians. So I wonder if they're going to respond in kind and how this will continue to escalate. I urge for peace right now and de-escalation. But what we need to be concerned about is where we're drawing our red lines. What are we going to consider red lines? What is worth fighting for? What is worth dying for? I think that we should revisit the UN. We should revisit NATO. We should start talking about these agreements. When one is attacked, all is attacked, because Turkey, I don't think they have our interest at heart, and there's a lot of other nations around the world that I don't think have our interest at heart, and I don't want to see our men and women die to protect some national interest from a country that doesn't really care about us. That's my opinion. So let's move on to the last featured topic of the day. This is Planned Parenthood funding. So I'm going to go ahead and start a Mac attack. This is a segment where we talk about outrageous events in the news, and I just want to bring this into a philosophical light. So here we go.
It's time for the Mac attack!
All right, folks. Let's go ahead and bring up an article here. It's titled, Planned Parenthood Doesn't Need Our Taxes. This is written by Ian Tuttle of thenationalreview.com. What the government giveth, the government almost never taketh away. And that's what Planned Parenthood has been counting on. Oh, sorry, my computer appears to be frozen here. There we go. Planned Parenthood is an industrial scale baby abator, responsible for more than 300,000 American deaths annually and the degradation of human dignity on the order of Joseph Mengele. And the urgent issue of the day is whether it should be privately or publicly funded. Democrats are for the latter. Republicans are for the more modest opinion that if you want to slaughter your children in utero, you should have to pay for it yourself. That is what would happen if congressional Republicans succeeded in defunding Planned Parenthood, which they currently plan to do as part of a process of dismantling President Obama's Affordable Care Act. Planned Parenthood is a recipient of more than $500 million annually in taxpayer dollars. That's $528.4 million in the fiscal year 2013 and 14, or about 40% of its annual revenue. Under the Hyde Amendment, the organization is technically prohibited from using this money to finance abortion. In reality, the amendment provides a $500 million cushion atop which Planned Parenthood can conduct its slaughter business. And the technical separations of funds depends entirely on Planned Parenthood being scrupulous in its accounting, which it isn't, to put it mildly. It's worth noting, too, that the most recent Democratic presidential nominee promised to end the Hyde Amendment, which was an admirably honest middle finger to well over half the country. Since the business of abortion is unseemly, Planned Parenthood justifies its reception of public munifice, I can't say that word, by insisting that taxpayer subsidies are necessary to guarantee women's health or to provide reproductive health care. The latter, a vague constellation of services that range from pap smears and cervical cancer screenings to dismembering babies. It goes conveniently unremarked that it was not conservatives who bundled those services together. No one forced Planned Parenthood to marry primary, its cancer screening, and other services which conservatives have been happy to fund through other institutions, to a morally dubious practice that the vast majority of Americans finds retch-inducing. So you can read more of this article, in which I will post on my social media here, facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. It's being posted right now as we speak. And also at OnTheMoveShow on Twitter, which I will post in a moment here. And I'm posting both now. There we go, posted. Now, to give you the reason for the season, why we went into a Mac attack in the first place, okay? This whole topic is about using governmental force, taking money from one person and distributing it to another. All right, so let's bring this back to the most basic principles, the non-aggression principles. It's wrong to hurt others and to take their stuff, correct? I think we all agree on that. So let's go ahead and apply this to redistribution of wealth. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, we're not even talking about abortions, which I would argue is definitely at some point in the pregnancy is the murder of a human life. I don't know at what point human life begins, but I definitely know that baby is alive at some point before it's outside the body. And I think we should at least have a conversation about when we should start protecting that human life. When should we actually try to protect that human life? Is there a period that we should be trying to protect that life, or does it matter? Is it solely based on what the mother values that life? Is that the only way that we're going to stipulate? Just, if a mother values up until the point when it's born, or is it acceptable even after it's born? Is it okay? Let's say a baby's born and 5 minutes later the mother drowns it in the bathtub because she doesn't want it. Is that okay because the mother doesn't want it? But what if it was 5 minutes before it was born? Is it okay for her to abort that child then? I would argue that it's murder in either case. But I'm pro-life, and that's where I stand. I also admit that it's an arbitrary concept of when life begins. How are we to determine it? Unless we're going to say it begins at conception. And again, I don't know. I think the argument could be made for that, but I don't know where life begins. And I do know that the purpose of government was to protect life. Again, life, liberty, and property. Those are the three things it should be protecting. Shouldn't be acting against liberty either. Shouldn't be acting against life, liberty, or property. So, at a minimum, what we're talking about here in this instance is redistribution of wealth in order to provide women's health and reproductive health care. I think that it's wrong to take money from one person and give it to another. That's redistribution of wealth. That's immoral. It's violating the non-aggression principle. I don't have the right to take money away from you. You don't have the right to take money away from me. We don't have a right to hire someone, a third party, like a thug or something, to come around and take your money. And we don't have that. Also, we don't have the right to elect someone to take your money. You have your money. You have a right to your property. I don't have a right to impose my will on you. Not with force, not with governmental force, not with anything. Just because a majority votes for something, it doesn't mean it's right. That does not mean it's moral. If it violates that non-aggression principle, that's wrong. And furthermore, looking into that, I shouldn't have to pay for your health care. You have individual responsibility. I don't care if you're a woman. I don't care if you're a man. I don't have an obligation to pay for your health care. Now, if somebody wanted to be charitable, that's another thing. We have a societal obligation to each other, a moral obligation, but it shouldn't be imposed by law. This is an individual responsibility that we have to each other. So, if I want to donate to an organization that provides women's health care or reproductive health care, then I have every right to do that. You don't have a right to make me. But I have every right to choose to donate to a good cause. And again, I don't think it's a good idea that we just leave that, we cede that territory, the charity territory, to the government, because it means that we're not looking out for each other at that point. We stop looking to be the solution to our problems when we are the solution. Individuals, we're the solution. So we can be charitable. We can donate to good companies that are doing things that we want, charitable companies, things on key issues that we feel passionate about. But what I think is even worse about the situation is that half of the country, this is a very divisive issue, half of this nation thinks it's immoral to use their money. I'm sorry, let's even backtrack even more. Half of the country thinks abortion is murder. Half of them. Okay? So half of the country doesn't want their money being used to fund that. And half of the other half thinks it's completely okay to force people to pay for something that they have a moral objection to. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is what this debate is about using force of government to force people to pay for something that they find morally reprehensible. And even if they agreed with it, it's wrong to force people to pay for something that they don't want to. Taxes are theft. And look, I personally believe that taxes should be voluntary, and I think that many people would look at it if they were looking at your tax bill at the end of the year. What do you want to pay? Here's the different categories. Here's our recommendations based on your pay. This would be in order to fund these things. This is what we recommend, and you can look through and choose. You know what? I don't care what you recommend. I'm not giving any money to Planned Parenthood. No money to Planned Parenthood. Or yes, I am giving money to Planned Parenthood because I agree with them and I want them to continue doing what they're doing. Whatever your thought process, you can choose to do that. But I think many Americans would vote against that kind of stuff, or would vote with their dollars against that kind of stuff and not fund those kind of programs. And if you chose to, okay, great, it's funded, whatever. Somebody did it voluntarily. But I think most Americans would vote to fund the police and the military and the hospitals and things like that. They would vote for things that they use or that they want to have there as an option. And if they don't want it, it won't be there. Voluntary taxes. But this debate over health care right now, Republicans talking about not funding Planned Parenthood, that's a minimum. At a minimum, what should be done. This is disgusting, first of all, that you're redistributing wealth from one person to another. It's furthermore disgusting that you're redistributing wealth from one person to another for abortions. And thirdly, it is even more disgusting that you're forcing someone to pay for another person's abortion against their will. This is wrong. This is immoral. It needs to stop. We should stop funding Planned Parenthood. And they are a private company. They would still exist even without government funding. By the way, why can't they do crowdfunding? Why can't they be a charitable organization that can receive donations, a 501c3? Why can't they operate like that? Well, because they want to drive around in Lamborghinis. They want to sell baby body parts for profit. And by the way, Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, a progressive, by the way, a very big progressive, wanted to exterminate the black population, strategically placed these locations, these Planned Parenthoods, in African American communities in order to exterminate the blacks. This is not a good history behind this organization, and Margaret Sanger is again, she's held up by the left as being this amazing hero of the left when she was a vile, racist bigot who wanted to use the government to kill people she didn't think that she thought her race was superior to. So yeah, we should stop funding it. But I digress. That's our show for today, folks. I certainly hope that you enjoyed it. If you have anything on your mind, you can feel free to shoot me a message or a tweet, facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow or @OnTheMoveShow. Oh, actually, we'll go ahead and hang on here. We got a caller here calling in. I'll go ahead and bring caller on the line. Hey, caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Jim from Minnesota.
Hey, Jim, what's on your mind?
Hey, just calling in and wishing you a happy New Year, and good to see you back on the radio again. And also I guess you're going to be moving on us, but at least you're letting us know where you're moving to.
Oh, what do you mean moving? I'm not moving anywhere right now.
As far as the radio program, where the radio program's going to be.
Oh yeah, well, I'm not actually planning on moving it anywhere. It's still going to be on Spreaker. It's still going to be available. Okay. If people want to download the audio or stream it the same way on Spreaker, I'm just going to add another layer to it with YouTube this year. I'm going to start video podcasting. So if you want to watch it live in studio, you can see everything I'm doing here in studio. But I'm just trying to add a little bit more to it. But yeah, what was on your mind? What were you calling about, Jim?
Just calling about as far as I have a question for you. As far as as you know, I'm a third too, my grandfather traded directly from Denmark, and he passed on the name to his son, and then of course my dad passed on to me. But I just wondering, a lot of people nowadays are putting the third because of 3%ers. And I just wonder, is that the case for you, or is that not the case?
No, that's not the case. I'm actually the third. I'm one of three, Max. It's a family name. So, yeah.
That's what I thought, but you never know, because that's what I'm saying. I see people that are doing third, but it's because of the third 3%ers.
Yeah, I've seen that too. But that's not what I'm doing. I'm just got a family name. That's about it.
Oh, yeah.
My grandpa, his name was McDonald, and everybody called him Mac, I think. So they named my father Mac Jr., and I'm Mac the Third.
Okay.
So anyway, did you have anything else on your mind?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that you were in the military too, weren't you?
Yes, sir. Air Force, 6 years.
Okay. What did you do in the Air Force?
Security forces. I worked at I worked in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Their Air Force base is F.E. Warren. Did nuclear security for about 2 years. Went out to the field and secured intercontinental ballistic missiles, and then after that, I did about 4 years, close to 4 years, in the Armory.
I see. But you didn't work on Stargates or anything, right?
No, never saw that, man. I'm telling you right now, if I saw a Stargate, I don't know if I'd keep the lid on that. I'm not very good at secrets, so.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. I didn't see anything that science tech either. Well, as far as, because I worked on airplanes in the Navy. I was on an aircraft carrier, and during the Iraq War, and so in fact we had the oldest planes in the E2C fleet. Those are like a AWAC, and now of course they got the new Hawkeye 2000s, which are all fiber optics, better turboprops, and just a lot better stuff than when I was in. But we got by. We got by with what we had.
Yeah.
So but
I certainly appreciate
I was
your service.
definitely blessed to be in the military and retire from it too. That was I didn't believe I could do that. Especially I know yourself, as far as you probably when your first year you were saying, why did I do this?
Actually, the whole time I was in the military, it was like it was very surreal experience. For those of you out there, if you've ever experienced this, I remember when I got put in charge of like securing and accounting for millions of dollars worth of like weapons and ammunition, and I was like, wow, these people really trust me. I was like, it was just very very surreal. Just every now and then you unlock a door and you realize that you're the only one that has that key or something, or there's very few people, and there's millions and millions of dollars worth of stuff in there, and you're just like, wow, this is very surreal. But I met a lot of awesome people. I learned a lot.
Oh yeah, me too.
Had a great time. I have no regrets from my time in the military. I
know what you mean. I have my own business, and as far as people, as far as you say, look, can I trust you? Well, I was in the military for 20 years, and you don't stay in the military for 20 years unless they can trust you. So I don't think you have anything to fear.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very true. Have you been listening to the show, or have you heard any of the stuff that we've been talking about today? Any of the topics that you want to
I just tuned in a little bit because I just got done with a job. I'm a hard worker, and I just got done punching the clock like 5 o'clock. And like I said, I just tuned in. As soon as I saw it on Facebook, I saw that you had posted, invited me.
I tell you what,
and
let me run through a couple of these topics we've talked about. Maybe you've heard about, because we're actually. As you called in, I was actually about to wrap up the show, but I'm just curious. Have you heard about this Chicago torture of a white man?
Oh yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts on that? What was the first thing that popped into your head?
It disgusts me, because like I said, as you know, if you or I, had our little gang, and we went around and did that to a black man that was as far as mentally, as far as had mental problems. The streets of all our cities would have Black Lives Matters out. They'd be marching, protesting, probably burning down a few buildings at the same time.
Yeah.
But yet, the other way around, it's like people were actually giving excuses that, oh, this is just a prank.
Yep.
And we don't know if we should call this a hate crime. So, hey, in the video, it clearly said it's a hate crime. They admitted themselves. And it disgusts the heck out of me, because you and I, both of you, I mean, when I was, we've been through 8 years of Obama, and I don't remember anything like that happening before Obama was in office. I don't remember cops being, as far as ambushed and shot and killed. I mean, yeah, it's happened as far as, by criminals, but not, targeted. And even our wonderful, president that's almost out of office, he actually invited these thugs, BLM, which are racist, to the White House. I mean, what's happened, to our country? It's sad, and and we, as we cover up as far as Muslims, any crimes that they do, any crimes the illegals do, we cover it up. Unless, of course, it's, you can't cover it up. It's a national situation, like the shooting, down in as far as Fort Lauderdale. You can't really cover that up. But as far as terrorist incidents, but they definitely try. There's been like in the last couple of years, 250 terrorists, as far as jihadi kind of attacks in the United States. And of course, we only get the high profile ones.
And
as far as that we learned about.
Obama's over there talking about how he's made sure that ISIS hasn't attacked us here at home, even though all of these attacks have been inspired by ISIS. And again, I know it doesn't do us any justice to not speak out against these things and condemn them for what they are, which are racism and bigotry. When you're either attacking somebody because of your religion or because of their religion or their skin color, and it doesn't matter on all sides. And let me ask you, if anything would have been, so far I haven't heard anything being attributed to Dylan Roof. You know who Dylan Roof is, right?
Definitely familiar with it. Oh yeah,
I haven't heard him.
Very familiar with it.
I haven't heard him associated with like the alt-right or the right, but let's just associate it for the official narrative here. That let's call him a right shooter, okay? Someone on the right. Would you consider that a hate crime that he committed in Charleston?
Yes, I would. I would definitely call it a hate crime.
Agreed. I would too.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we look. I when I first started the show, I thought that this was kidnapping in Chicago, this torture in Chicago was the most egregious. But now that I'm thinking about it, Dylan Roof is probably the most egregious hate crime that we've seen in recent times.
I definitely agree.
But I haven't heard Dylan Roof be associated with the right. I haven't heard him being associated with Donald Trump. So it can't be a justification, that they did this. It escalated to torture and kidnapping because of Dylan Roof or because of something that was said. I keep hearing this blamed on other things. Like, but I played clips earlier. This woman was blaming the actions of these individuals on slavery, on Jim Crow in the South, and again, I feel like people aren't going to give them the personal responsibility, not going to force them to take personal responsibility and just make up excuses. Don Lemon of CNN said that maybe they weren't raised right, and that they maybe weren't taught right from wrong in their home. I think that, and would you agree? Do you think that is low? The bigotry of low expectations, expecting people because they're a minority to not know what someone should know commonly in society.
Yeah, I agree. And of course, as you know, for the war on poverty that was started by LBJ, as far as the poverty rate hasn't, really, as far as it's a little bit less than it was at that time, but we spent, I think, $20 billion at least on the war on poverty, and all we've got is fatherless homes. And, as far as, gang culture has grown way out of proportion. And it's just a shame because, like I said, as you know, before the welfare, most, as far as blacks, were Republicans.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he turned to Democrat because said they basically started the plantation over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's institutional slavery now. They get people hooked on the state. Completely agree. But Jim, did you have any final thoughts? We're going to have to wrap up the show here. I got to run, but
no, I just wanted to wish you a happy New Year, and I'm definitely looking forward to your show in the new year. I'm glad that you speak the truth, and I'm really blessed. I don't know if you're familiar with Jason Lewis. He used to be on Rush Limbaugh.
No, I'm not familiar with him.
Yeah, he was a DJ really well known in the Twin Cities, and now he is our congressman.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And oh yeah, so he's going to be on tonight on CNN or on the whatever C-SPAN tonight at 6 p.m. So he should be entertaining to watch because he's definitely going to take it.
All right. So
yeah, looking forward to that.
That's going to be you said 6 p.m. tonight?
Yeah, 6 p.m. on C-SPAN. Yeah.
What time is it? It's Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Oh, okay. All right, so that's coming up. All right, well, you guys can check it out on C-SPAN after. That sounds interesting. By the way, you reminded me last week I was watching C-SPAN 2, very exciting, and live tweeting everything that was going on in the Senate. But I know I was probably like one of 5 viewers that were on there. But I was watching the debate over Obamacare, whether or not they were trying to vote on it. Whether or not they would stop the process of repealing Obamacare if it reduced coverage or did something else, and the Republicans ended up winning that. But I thought it was interesting. Watch Cory Booker.
Oh yeah.
If you got, by the way, Cory Booker did a speech on the floor of the Senate. You guys should be paying attention to him because I do think that he's going to be the left's next person to hold the mantle. Basically, I think he's going to be one of the next leaders of the Democrat Party. Very charismatic guy, good-looking guy, African-American fellow. I think he's going to take off. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think he's going to be one of the next leaders. But anyway, Jim, we got to run. Happy New Year to you, and thank you so much for your service.
You too. God bless.
All right, you too. Bye-bye. All right, folks, that's our show for today. I want to give a big shout-out to Jim for giving us a call. The MacPack, you guys are the tip of the spear. Thank you so much for your continued support week after week. If you made it this far in the program, please smash the thumbs up button. Share it out to your friends and family. Say, hey, here's this guy, Mac Worley. He's cool. I think you'll like him. Check it out, or whatever you think. I don't want to put words into your mouth or tell you what to think. You guys think for yourself. You're free thinkers. And don't forget to check us out week after week. We broadcast Sunday. Every Sunday, except for last week, and the odd Sunday off, at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can check us out on our website, OnTheMoveShow.com. The podcast is over there. You can also check out the shop. Click the shop link. You can purchase our hundreds of products for sale over there. We got lots of original designs, merchandise from coffee mugs, T-shirts, phone cases, hoodies, that kind of stuff. Feel free to check it out. Your purchases will make our program bigger and better. Don't forget to follow us over at Spreaker.com/OnTheMoveShow, Spreaker.com. You follow us over there, you'll be helping us out significantly. The more people that follow us, the more people that will find us. So thank you so much. Don't forget to like us on Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. Follow us on Twitter @OnTheMoveShow, and subscribe to us on YouTube.com/OnTheMoveShow for our new upcoming things that we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing original commentary videos over there again this year. We're going to pick that up. I'm also going to be doing the live stream over there once I can get it figured out this year. I'm working on it now. And you guys aren't going to want to miss out on that. So subscribe to our YouTube.com/OnTheMoveShow. You're going to want to check that stuff out so you don't miss out on that content. Anyway, without further ado, again, super happy that you guys tuned in. Thank you so much. Very grateful. And know your rights, assert your rights, and get on the move.